This conference will now be recorded.
The regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the Southwood Parks and Recreation District for May 17th, 2023 is called to order at 6:01. Is there anyone for public comment this evening?
Yes, I have public comment. This is John Bush.
Thank you, John. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair. It regards number 8 on your agenda, item new business, and it's item C, and that is regarding the online provision of your board meetings. And I'd like to urge, I think we would all agree, that accessibility to the board meetings online builds transparency, it builds community engagement, and ultimately it builds trust. And particularly as your activities expand into so many dimensions, I think it well serves the community and the board to continue to make attendance at these meetings or monitoring these meetings available online. So I request that you do so. I recognize in your agenda that you are proving, in my thoughts, an opinion I have of public policy, which is success is really hard. When you succeed, there is much more to do, and your agendas continue to expand in recognition of the fine work that all of you commissioners are doing. So I thank you for that. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much. I think that once we get to that point in the agenda, it will be clear what the intent is. So.
Wonderful.
All right. Has every commissioner had an opportunity to review the minutes from March 15th, March 20th, April 14th, and May 5th, and May 15th. So the only one we're missing is April 19th, correct? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 20th.
It's the second one.
Of March 15th, March 20th, April 14th, and May 5th meetings, and May 15th.
I'll second that one.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes for March 15th, March 20th, April 11th, May 5th, and May 15th. All those in favor say aye.
Okay. Krista, aye.
No,
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. Matt, are you ready to lead us through the treasurer's report, please?
yeah.
Look at the, yeah, that's.
That's the pre-meeting one.
Okay, go to our files. This. Just look that for their meeting copy right there.
There we go. And then the overall slide. So your version of Excel doesn't bring in the notes. So for whatever reason. It's okay, we will talk through it, so it's fine, it's fine. Pull it up. I just gotta remember to send you guys the PDF. So this summary slide is correct, it's missing the notes, but I'll explain it. Yeah, I've got those, thank you. So the net, you can see the green line is net versus the magenta line, darker line, which is forecast. We are running ahead of forecast. That the net is roughly 99,000 ahead of forecast. Again, favorable is up. So you can see on the revenue side, slightly favorable, on the expense side, more significantly favorable, netting to that 99. Next slide. So that's the revenue picture. 34 of this is revenue. You can see, while we did get our big spring levy bump of 570,000, we had forecast 575, so we did fall a slightly worse, unfavorable from a cumulative standpoint. So, it's big dollars, but the cumulative regression is only a few 5K. So I think that's fine, and will sort itself out as the rest of the year passes. The big bump, as you see in programs, is from the summer activity guide and summer program registration opening, of about 75K. So net, we're plus 34 in revenue. If you go to the expense slide, the remaining 65K favorable is in expense control. You can see the bulk of that's admin. Maintenance just slightly unfavorable. Year to date, again, that's a cumulative number, so small. And programs is about even. So that's bulk of that is, or a big chunk of that is director savings. Obviously, a double-edged sword there. So you can go to fund balances. You'll see fund balances are on plan. You can see the big bump in M&O is based on that county revenue bump in the first quarter that we were expecting. So, any questions on the summary before we go to vouchers?
Just one kind of general question. I know that because we were waiting on funds from the county, that some expenses were perhaps pushed out a little bit. Have we started to catch up on that? Like, are we gonna see a bigger bump? Are we gonna see bigger expenses in May? Or just how is that gonna shake out?
So there's the final contract was issued to us by the state. So we have the authority to now reimburse the invoices that we have been holding were for the aquatic center project. We have 388,000 now to expend. There are a few final steps that Jennifer needs to take with the staff to turn us on in the reimbursement system. So contract is there, we can start. So once that happens, we're going to clear 3 months worth of invoices roughly.
Yeah, and also, we've got, the tax revenue is there now that is lacking for a while. So, as you'll see, we're requesting to up our credit card limits so that there'll be significant triathlon purchases. Tom's probably been holding off on some things too, but I think we're good to start.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of my question, like just the day-to-day stuff, we're gonna start to catch up on some of that deferred spending. Thank you for deferring that spending. Good. And then it's great that.
Yeah.
Terrific.
So I guess it's time to ask. One of the things I started looking at some of the capital projects. So like we have a roof replacement at Crow's Nest this year. Kind of been holding off, waiting for the directors, talking to the director about that. I've already got one bid in. I'd like to get the other bids in and get numbers so we can get that on a schedule so we're not pushing that out until December and the weather and everything like that. So is that something that I can start moving forward with, getting some numbers on some of these different projects?
Yeah, that capital budget, the capital budget we need to execute.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
Okay. Other question, sounds like pickleball is looking favorable. Do you want me to contact a couple of different businesses about the initial leveling of the site? I had numbers on that a couple years back. We're gonna need dirt. The sooner I talk to one or two people and say, hey, we have a spot, if you have good clean fill dirt, will save us money in the long run. Just, just wanted to bring it up with you guys. That's,
How much scope, like how much cubic yardage do you think is gonna be needed, like order of magnitude?
I don't, when I had them look at it before, it's dependent on how much we're gonna cut from the high.
Yeah, that whole thing is just sloped by about 4 feet or 5 feet, something like that, across that whole.
Yeah, scrape the high, you bring it to the low, you won't need as much, but if we get it roughed out and we're able to accept free fill dirt, just, again, I would suggest, I talked with Morley Construction. They're the ones who, Dad has done 99% of all the dirt work in this whole park. And so he's actually excited to, look at it again and stuff like that. So I could give them a call and I could just pick their brain, get, kind of get a rough yardage for you guys if that's what you want. And again, just maybe a rough price with being able to accept dirt if they've got it off a job that's close. So just wanted to know kind of where we're at on that stuff because now.
Yeah, do you have the dimensions of that, of the site?
If you have the footprint of it and you can send me that.
Yeah, so I'll send you
That
that.
would be great.
It's got the X, Y, and then it includes the central, like a central alleyway there, and then basically a T-shaped, bricked in pad, and then storage shed in the back of it. So
yeah, if you send me whatever you've got, I'll have it on hand. I'll set up a meeting, just real informal at this point.
Yep.
Start getting some information.
That's great. And I can't remember does it drop off going towards the Mama Farms? Like, is there any kind of a drop off?
No, it actually goes up a little bit heading that way.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, so maybe this is a silly question, but I'll just throw it out there. So if we're able to accept, some dirt as they're coming in, right? But we can't, it's gonna be maybe a month or two or whatever before we start moving it. How do we keep it from washing away? Or move, do you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
or is it just like dumped there? Do we tarp it down? Like, how do we?
This time of year, you're not gonna get any rain back there.
Right, but.
But you would put up a silt fence just,
Okay.
in case of any.
Or wind, or, you know what I mean, like.
Wind won't affect it. And,
Okay,
like, my idea would be, if we're accepting dirt, it's being pushed out, as, you get a couple truckloads in, we go over and push it out.
okay,
So we're just,
okay,
you're not gonna have mountains of dirt
right.
that's not gonna be able to be moved, and so we've got tractors, so we could go over, we could, as it comes in, like 2, 3, 4 trucks, whatever come in, we push it out.
Okay,
And it's just, we know we're gonna need some,
right.
if the price is right, free. Just thinking ahead.
Yeah, I'll, if I don't, we have the dimensions, I think, in the RCO grant applications, and if you don't, I'll add them to that and I'll send it to you.
Good.
Yep. Should we move on to the vouchers?
Vouchers, if no other questions? You want to pull those, oh, you got one.
Oh, just, and maybe it's kind of, the vouchers made me think of it, but this also kind of applies to programming. So I'm seeing a number of, CLAT refunds for a bunch of different programs. In general, were we then able to bring in people from a wait list? Or
If it pertains to swim lessons.
Right. I just do like reactive dog clinic, there's a swim lesson, there's something else, there, just a kind of a general question, like,
If there's a wait list, like, I'll be contacting whoever's on there, letting them know in order. And like the upgrade with our registration system makes it a lot easier now. But yeah, if there's a wait list, they're getting contacted.
I gotta ask, the hand and soap dispenser, tell me it's not $535.
Those are, I believe, the meter mister air fresheners that we use in all the restrooms. Is that right? Is that,
I think it was.
it's that product?
What does it say?
Right here.
Yeah,
Just
it's-
Those supplies.
Hand and soap dispenser, $535.
that's not one.
I think it was
It's
a
hand
mixture.
soap and
Yeah,
air
it's multiple
freshener.
things.
Just clarifying, I can see, I know they're electronic, but come on,
like
you know.
multiple.
Nope.
So,
Zap is one of our cleaning supply places.
Yeah.
We get toilet paper, paper towels,
So that 535 represents.
a bunch of stuff.
Any other questions on vouchers?
Did you want to go down the new list, the new items, or do you just?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. Payroll was updated. That's everything. Scrum. We added a permit fee for the city of Lakewood for the triathlon.
Gave us the
A
permit,
refund.
yes? Or we don't know yet?
We're not there yet.
no, last year we got it a couple weeks beforehand.
Refund for active dog clinic. You go. Irrigation supplies at Hanson's. The Heritage Bank one for loans, I removed one of the loans because we had paid it off. So that's a change there. For irrigation supplies with Horizon. Propane bill for Skagit Farmer Supply. Adobe Creative Cloud invoice. We did the figures for our retirement contributions. And our payroll taxes, and I think that's the, so what let's go down to the total. They're gonna be both of those. Now, do you usually approve the total amount and don't break it out with what? Any questions?
If there are no other questions, I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers from M&O for $92,259 and 4 cents.
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the voucher list from the M&O fund for a total of $92,259.04. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the vouchers are approved. All right, thank you, Matt. Staff report, please.
I've had Woodby Telecom reach out for a tentative pickleball tournament in mid-August, just waiting for some approval from the school district. We'd most likely be doing it like we do with Skyhawks or the international soccer camp, where they would handle the bulk of the setup and everything, and we would just get a 15% cut of all of the proceeds that come from it. More the idea of having 1 or 2 pickleball courts with a fee structure for reservations. The idea over the summer is that we're still going to utilize quite a bit of indoor time because it's so labor intensive and it's tough for volunteers to grab 4 bags of pickleball nets and lug them from here to there and back every time, which means there's going to be a lot more open space for it. But within that, there's so many new players that I've had people inquire about if they're able to reserve times or if they're groups that want to reserve times.
So they don't have only 4 nets.
Between,
I just mean in terms of having the nets set up indoor.
oh yeah, no, we've got,
Set up outdoor. Good. We can set up both. They can set up.
we've got 6 nets, so we've got 3 and 3
Got it.
right now. But again, the outdoor is not anything I'm looking to do a whole lot as time moves on through the summer, because because we absorb so many of those groups that normally play outdoors, they're going to be hitting a lot of those spaces. But with that, there's still just people coming from out of town that want to play. I can foresee that there are going to be a lot more groups that are vying for time to play. I just, like, feedback would be great on if we should have something set up in regard to any fees reserved, even not all the courts, but just 1 or 2 maybe for the outdoor courts. Especially since we can't do anything with those indoor courts, I can't sub-rent those out to the future.
My feedback would be in summertime especially, that people are, their plans change and variables in there, and I would hate to see a court reserved and not used. I'm kind of pro first come, first serve. If you really want to play, you schedule your time at a time you know it's less crowded, or, I understand the limit, I get it completely. I'm just saying that I think that reservation process sounds a little complex for the number of people and the variables. I'm just thinking about how that will play out. So you're talking about just outside, right?
Yeah, it could be,
So you're talking individuals or groups or both?
somebody would have to be making a reservation for their group or whatever it is for that period.
I can see it more for pickleball courts, but for the outdoor courts we have, I mean, that's totally up to you if you think that's something that should be done. But if you want feedback, I think that's complex.
How would you work it?
I think we'd work it just like we would a picnic shelter or anything else, where it'd be added into the system and a person's taking a time slot, and that time slot is then, because we have the cones set up there, so it could be something where once a week you're setting it up. Like, the hardest part would be, there'd be extra work and people having to, because they would probably then call us asking when are there open spots.
Would you limit it to reservations during, Saturday, Sunday, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday only, and the rest of the week is wide open, or is
We
it?
could do that, yeah, because I'd be open to that, definitely.
It
I guess it's more
seems
just,
like a lot of interning, if you're keeping track of those reservations. I'm thinking of you. That to me seems like a lot of data.
And to his point, like, people change plans,
Mhm.
especially in the summer, drop of a hat. Like, there too, what about, if you cancel within a certain amount of time, what are the consequences of that? And is there a wait list so that it's, not sitting empty?
Well, maybe if we don't, if there's a cancellation policy, like a 24-hour kind of thing, then.
Or no cancellation policy as
Right.
far as they're not gonna get their.
Right, and I would bet, and I get that the plans change in the summer, but I would bet if you looked at the spectrum of all the people who use the park, the pickleballers have the most rigid schedule. Like, if it's Sunday at 9:30, it's Sunday at 9:30. Come heck or high water kind of thing.
You
So
set time limits for court usage then?
right now we have no rules
That's
really for any of those courts, like they kind of,
playing that out in my head.
like because you have groups that are gonna start coming in that normally were doing some indoor stuff with us, so from, they're 4 to 6 hours on a Sunday, is all of a sudden gonna get taken up. They usually try to keep one court available, or if they're using all 4 courts and somebody shows up, they'll try and free it up. But they're also their own organized groups that don't necessarily, like, they're meant to play with, they're intending to play with each other, and sometimes they're getting people that are showing up that are trying to jump into those. And I mean, I'm gonna think more on all of this, because, like, and also discussing with people that are playing in other places, that was what kind of brought it to my mind was them saying, well, on some of these you have to make the reservations, or there's a system where you can only be there for a certain amount of time, or if you, everybody can show up at any time to play, but you have certain courts that are labeled these levels.
Is that what
and
they're
there's-
doing at Crawford Road?
That one's private.
Oh,
So they're paying a membership fee for that one, and they limited it, I think, to 50 people. But theirs is a reservation system too, and they're gonna be doing the same thing. I think they're adding 2 indoor courts in Freeland to go along with that.
My wife and I went to play in Arizona on 16 court campus, and their rule was first come, first served, except for groups. That made sense to me. So we were trying to play at a crowded time, but no, but at this time it opens up because groups are done. So that's kind of where I was coming from. I was just thinking, you know, if you're an individual and you're on the island for the weekend and want to play, you know that it's going to be crowded at a certain time. You know, maybe group reservations have power because you've got an organized activity, but in terms of 2 people at a time, it seems like a lot of work for you.
Yeah, this is more of a question of, is this something we want to do, is ever charge to reserve these courts?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's like in most racket sports, there's a court reservation because courts are limited at any kind of facility like this. And there's some kind of reservation system, so you can at least have a hope of, you know, doing something with your kid, with your spouse, with your significant other, with families visiting from wherever. So I think it's better to have a plan for a system that allows you to reserve a court within limits, you know, no more than 60 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever it is. And not all the courts get reserved. Like maybe there's always a court that's, you know, it's like campsite reservations. They reserve 70% in advance and they keep 30% for day of kind of stuff. So some kind of system that allocates courts so that somebody can plan around it and it's not just a total free for all, but that it doesn't lock up everything. Because we're going to end up with 6 courts, plus if we keep the parking lot, plus the indoor. So we need a system that can accommodate that, because we want people to be happy.
And to that, maybe just mornings and afternoon is first come, first serve.
Okay.
So if we go back many years, we never charged for anything, and when we brought picnic shelters, there was lots of pushback. I never want to charge it, I won't charge it. That's freed up everything and it's made it work. Like if you want to reserve a picnic shelter, you call up, pay
Yeah,
and it's yours.
So you're saying having a system that has
Yes,
normal.
it is already a free for all there. You put 6 brand new beautiful courts, we're gonna have to control this stuff.
Yeah.
And if it's I mean, we charge for use right now. If you're in our class or, you know, however that's working, it works if people aren't balking at it. And so all of a sudden we've just added a whole bunch of maintenance, a whole bunch more work, a whole bunch more park users coming, using the restrooms and all that. The days are free, coming to an end, guys. Like it or not, it's just us doing business. We're very busy. And so,
and I get that. It's just we have 4 courts now. We don't have. I'm not talking
Yeah.
about the 6 courts. That's a different scenario.
yeah, and I think that's what I was thinking about this just last night, like, okay, boy, this thing's coming down the road at some point. It goes along with the bike tour thing. I don't know if we're gonna talk about that later, but it's the same thing. You've got a business in here, Mondays and Tuesdays, I don't know how many people they're bringing every Monday and Tuesday. You know, it's more. And they need to reserve the facility if they want to bring this business in here. So we're too popular.
Well, and I think even though in the 4-court example, like we're right into the summer now, there's going to be conflict at the courts if we don't have some structure. So I think
Even outlining just some rules that are posted there that just have a limit, or if a group larger than X amount of people, you still have to leave open, you know, 2 courts max or something along those lines.
That's why I meant time
Yeah.
limitations, because you get people that will be there for 3 hours playing. And some people just want to come and play a short amount of time.
I think encouraging considerate behavior
We've also had cops in the park though, so like we can hope and anticipate, but I think structure, we need some structure.
I guess I would just say if we're charging money, let's at least make it worth the time that it takes to process that, because it does take time, and especially as we don't currently have a system for posting notices for reservations. Well, that means we're gonna have to do that, and, we're gonna have to go out there
What do
and
you mean by that? System for posting notices?
notifying, so if someone's reserved it, it needs to state somewhere there, court number one's reserved or something
Oh,
like
like,
that.
so if somebody reserves the picnic shelter here,
I usually don't put up
We
the
post
notice, I'll just leave it in my box, and I'll post
So
that
it's-
on the state.
so someone else who's coming up sees it, sees something, okay, it's reserved or something, okay.
Anyways, but, there is, like you're saying, there's a
Yeah, I mean-
fiddliness to it that we need to consider whether there's.
Well, like if you go to a court, tennis court complex, there'll be a spreadsheet on the wall that says 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. And like, so it would be posting one thing daily, maybe twice a day, something like that. So it's not inconsequential.
Right.
But I think, I would just, my recommendation would be just think through it. Sounds like
Yeah.
there's a couple things in mind, think through it, and I think a reasonable plan, you're gonna get support on.
Yeah, and my biggest question is more, is that something we charge a fee for or not? Because that comes down to you guys deciding.
I personally think so.
I think there's a difference in charging a fee so that service and activity can be provided. And charging a fee is very different from, gouging the bejesus out of someone, Charging a fee to make it possible.
Well, and I think the group, if you look at the group adapting to the middle school, right, that they're perfectly happy with that, it's reasonable, works. It costs, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna push back on this one because I cringe at, I was a poor kid and and there's kids that are poor in this community, there's people who don't have a lot of dough, who just want to come up and play tennis, who want to do certain things in the park. I get the organizational part of it, but I want it to be available to those kids who play at the school and go, hey, Johnny, I want to go play some pickleball. I didn't make a reservation. I don't have $5, $12 that older people are going to have. So that's my 2 cents. I cringe when I hear fee. I understand why we do it, but also we're a public entity and I want to keep that open and available for people, all people.
Do we have any scholarship usage associated with the programs that are running the fees in the middle school?
We have scholarships for programs.
Right, but are we getting requests for scholarship support for those programs today?
For which programs?
Like
Pickleball?
futsal?
They're all adult for the most part so far. Oh, it's-
The intro to pickleball for youth is the first time we've done anything for a younger group, but we still, we get them for basketball, swimming. They still come through us at times because they still need them for soccer or little league, and we're still having to direct them to where they're signing up. And since I'm on the committee, I can say, yeah, there's still a good chunk of kids around here that are needing assistance.
There's a good chunk of kids.
Right.
That
But that's
are represented, and their families. If you go to tennis courts late at night, you'll see every now and then, I'll look over and here's somebody I know, a family that I know has nothing, and they're out there beating the ball around. And they're doing it late in the evening because they know it's available, they know it's there. They're not, they're there for fun. They're there because it's available. And I just want that to exist. So,
Right, well, and like I said, maybe it's a time-based system. We say, middle of the day on Saturdays and Friday nights or Friday afternoons and Friday nights where we know there's high density and you can come during the week, and the system's not in place.
Well, it's only a percentage of the courts, right? We're not gonna.
And I was looking
Reserve
like
all-
one court, two
yeah,
courts, but at
just-
least giving that opportunity and still having ones that be open, first come, first served to the public, but.
I think a lot of good ideas in there. If you guys come up with a good system.
We got a few days to figure it
We're,
So,
when did we do
okay,
that?
so I figured here is where we would also talk about, introduce the backroad stuff, property, and
So Backroads is a high-end bicycle tour company, tourism, who last year been brought to our attention that they've been using the park as a meetup place and parking, whatever it was.
I think they see them in 2 vans,
Usually, yeah, and then the big trailers, 20 bikes.
20 bikes. 30
Uh,
bikes.
So reached out to them last year in the off season just to kind of explain like, okay, this is a business, you're making money off of this and you're utilizing this public space for your business, we need to be in contact. I'd been in contact, I'd asked Doug leading into this, it's because I think they sent this not long right before he left. What do you want to do? He said, we'll need to do some kind of fee schedule for them. And then it ended up on the bottom of one of my piles, so I came across it a couple days ago and thought, oh man, we gotta figure out what to do. So they're looking at basically Mondays and Tuesdays, so probably like 20 different times. Yeah. 10 in the morning or 9 in the morning. I think with those and looking at their online schedule, one of them, they're just using it as a start point and then biking up to Green Bank. And then the other one, they're just using it as a start and end point while they do some kind of loop that they find around here. We don't have anything structurally set up for parking spaces for a business. So.
What is it? They pull the vans in, they
They
unload
leave,
everything.
but they'll leave them there.
They're not chasing vans.
No.
So
They would be on the ones where they're heading up to Green Bay,
Right.
but sometimes they're still parking and just kind of waiting there at the beginning because it'll be a couple hours.
Also, when I saw them, they were like they were across a number of spots.
Right.
It's not like they back in or, confine, they're taking up a fairly big chunk. Also, I just want to confirm, we had to reach out to them, they did not reach out to us?
Yeah, after a couple of weeks, I'm like, who are you guys? What are you doing? This is a big impact.
Because,
Especially if it's like Skyhawks going on and you got kids getting picked up, dropped off, it's pretty much chaotic.
because I talked to them.
Well, I talked to them after a couple of weeks and I said, you guys really have to contact us to bring in something, an ongoing, this is every week, Mondays and Tuesdays, you guys have got to communicate.
Right.
Well,
So-
and then coming up with a plan, like where they're gonna stay and where the vans end up and all that, and then how much we charge them. Did we propose a fee?
No.
Doug, communication with them? What's this, like, what do we charge Skyhawk? Is it
Nothing. Because we get 15%.
it's from the registration?
Yeah.
It's a good question though, because I started thinking about food trucks. I mean, it opens a gate for not just them, but other people and what
We get the ice cream guy comes.
That's what
Yeah, I
I,
was gonna say that would be a good comparable fees, whatever we charged. Ice cream truck guy,
What is that?
I don't know.
But yeah,
That ball's probably been dropped, be my guess.
Kona ice guy.
Yeah, come on,
Because, we used to, for those guys to come in, they would have to sign a contract with us. You're making money in our facility, you've got to come to us, we've got to have an agreement. And so, guys, I see this 10 times a year. Different, just weird stuff coming in, unannounced.
You said we dropped the ball on the ice cream guy.
I'll
So you're
say
saying
that the contract that
contract.
we sign yearly with different entities like
And that there probably should also be some sort of liability, insurance liability
I know that was required of Kona Ice.
You know, there being an additional insured on their policy, that's pretty standard.
And I will say, in the conversation I did have with them, like they were very amiable to whatever our requirements are. It's just,
So do we have a standard from Pacifica? Do we have a standard boilerplate contract like that already, or do we need to get one?
I don't know. What I've seen come through looked like it varied from item to item. I only recall the Kona Ice one and I don't recall.
As it seems like we've got a good support from Pacifica, we should get a contract explaining what we want. We should get a contract and use that as the basis, right? And like the one we were doing with the bond measure, you know, they've got blocks of text and they can pull them and push them depending on the nature of the business. Seems like that should just be ready to hand to somebody. When we see them in the park, hey, here's the contract, go talk to people in the office kind of thing. And I think the fees, using our historical as at least a starting point.
Seems like it's gonna be variable too. I was just thinking about the fact that you said van and trailer, for example, or two vans, two trailers, however many, and they can't park in a single spot. I thought about a food truck who sometimes pulls up laterally or needs another space for the vending part of it, right? So it's not as easy as just saying one space, $20, because it kind of depends on.
Oh, yeah, no,
You know what I mean?
well, and from a public standpoint, if there's a truck selling, you know, lemon ice all day long, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, taking some spot. And the same thing is a van pulled up and parked and
Right.
nobody around and they're off doing something and they come back at the end of the day. To me, that's where you flex it, right? I mean, it's one thing to occupy those spaces. It's two to then be running, you know, business through there. And those guys are generating revenue in the park. So that's a percentage kind of thing, where these guys, maybe it's a flat fee because they're using it for an hour and then they're bailing.
Yeah, so when we've tried to charge based on their sales, it was a nightmare. So a flat fee is the way to go. So I pulled up the contract with Kona Ice, which was done last year. And so the vendor paid a seasonal permit fee of $250. Yeah.
So it's
there
just
you
a
go.
flat fee
It had
for
a
anything.
it had some sort of vendor agreement.
And then, so there's no percentage of they paid 250 for the whole summer season, year, what was the term?
April 15th to October 1st.
We have the dates already from Backroads, so, that's confirmed. I think it's also a question of where in the park do we want them? I think
It's gonna change because they're starting, school's still in session. We actually have a gate locked on the other side. Once school's out, both sides are open. If we've got a Skyhawks camp going on, and that's, the main focus is right by the baseball fields, we can't have them there.
they'd be like better under the complex.
Yeah, and it's almost one of those things where
Well,
that Monday, I'm coming and saying, okay, hey, this week, you guys have got to be down here.
yeah,
There.
to me, I think that's the contract. Like the contract says, on a weekly basis, you coordinate with the staff to identify the location.
They can do that, they do that all the time.
Yeah.
With
You have to be flexible.
vendors,
Oh, yeah.
other
Like,
local vendors, yeah,
Right, but I mean,
their guys
in
are
the-
responsible for.
Right, but if in the contract, it says to the Kona Ice person, you need to check in on Monday, and it says to, you know, Backroads, you need to check in on Monday, and these guys need to check in on Monday, then it's just normal and we expect it, and, you know, I think that, and they expect it too, right? But if you like flat fee, I think sounds good. I think that tell them they have to check in the contract. And we update the contract to make sure, you said it was just last year. Maybe
Yeah,
Pacifica
let's just use
scrub it
let's
again.
use it. Sorry.
Okay.
For expedience, and there's, there is in this agreement, it has insurance requirements.
Good.
Is that a termination clause? We end it in July if it's not working out.
Oh, well, I mean, we can put that in there. This one said the term is April 15th to October 1st.
Usually the termination clause is right at the end.
Is that like a subject to approval from the parties?
Oh, I see, yeah. Can't be assigned or transferred in the event of a breach of the use agreement by either party. They can work cooperatively to correct it and reestablish the agreement in good faith. Severability, is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
The provisionist agreement is held to be invalid, illegal, or enforceable for whatever reason that shall not affect or impair in any manner the validity or enforceability of the agreement. Doesn't really, I would say have a good part.
Yeah, so I think we should add a termination clause that says either party can terminate with 30 days notice or something like that. And you could grab that same from the contract that they just sent us, or the bond language they sent us, there's I think a termination.
For what?
The most recent thing that she sent us, there's a termination clause.
On the resolution section?
Yeah, from the original one, they were, again, it's just boilerplate, like it says, either party may sever
Yeah.
with such notice.
This one does indicate that they had to have background checks, such as the criminal record search and sex offender registry. I don't know that we need to require that. That was because it was a child, a child attractant. I don't think we need to require that of these.
Right, and then, like I said, that's where you flex it, right?
It seems subject to approval on a per use basis as well, because I'm going back to the real estate thing. Every person that comes and now is riding the bike is also probably bringing their car. So you've got something going on.
This is all, they're saying,
They're just coming
they're
from-
paying like $5,000
Okay.
to have somebody grab them from the airport.
But nonetheless, the theory would still hold true for any entity. If you're, let's say it's a vendor who's really popular, now there's 27 cars there, you're trying to do it. I'm just saying, the worst case scenario, real estate becomes valuable all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, to me, that's if we're going to if it's a fixed fee, right? It's not a percentage basis. That's where you have to flex it. They're going to be in there all day, Saturday, Sunday, selling candy corn or kettle corn. That's a much bigger impact. And that flat fee needs to be $500, $1,000, whatever it is, And then, so yeah, absolutely scale it to what's the footprint of this thing, right?
I would say it would be at least twice what Kona was using, at least.
For the season, for this number of times.
Oh, or I have no idea how many times Kona showed up.
I see him with Little League all the time, so we should probably update.
No, you said that the Kona contract was for April to October. And so you said his was 250, so you're saying 500 for
No, but I mean,
all of these dates?
so
or
250 is only 40, $50 a month, right? Depending on what the exact term of that is.
Yeah.
So that's $1 a day. That's awfully reasonable for that, for their business result.
But they're taking up more than twice the real estate from the ice cream truck.
Yeah, like
He drives through in the summer. He'll drive through and, drive up to the playground, the music, and just kind of, it's all the time.
But I mean, if they have 2 vans, right, or a trailer on the van, that's 3 parking spots.
And 24 times, right?
It's not just that, it's every single person using the restroom. Generating garbage. Price of toilet paper is down. I mean, it's all impact.
Yeah, so if it was $50 a time, it'd be what, 1,200? Right, to me, that's the kind of math we should be doing. $250 for an entire summer and $1 a day. Seems awfully light. For that impact, for the cleanup, for the garbage disposal,
And you said that they're getting $5,000 per person?
4 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, for them, like this guy said, I think for this,
I'm in the wrong business.
for this group. Well, but I mean, but if you said the same thing, if someone in a food truck is clearing, 5,000 a day, right? I mean, so I think we.
But how do you legitimately, I mean, the food truck, I don't know how you're gonna necessarily hold to that. My bigger thing is just giving the district an out so that if you find it's a problem, if there's a Skyhouse camp or Children's Day and something's going on, and now you need to say, hey, you can't do it this time, and you have to park over here.
Just
give yourself the
That's that
leeway.
Monday schedule, check in
More
more
than the
than
fee schedule, as long as that's in there.
for your sign. Yeah, you don't just automatically take something, you have to check in with the staff and then you'll be assigned a location, whatever.
Well, are these mostly weekends? What are the?
Monday, Tuesday.
Mondays and
Yeah,
Tuesdays.
Yeah, no, don't check in with us at 7 o'clock on Saturday. No, they have to check, I would just say it's a Monday morning thing, whatever day of the week you're coming. And you check in at least on a weekly basis through the term of your contract.
Would it be easier just to tell me to do the complex?
What's that, would be better.
Yeah, I mean, 9 or 10 in the morning on a Monday or Tuesday, you guys, anything going on there?
Just depends on, if there's a fire drill, the whole school spills into that area. They don't do a good job of communicating that with us anymore. It's random. It is absolutely random. There is less generally going on the other side of the park, unless you've got the airplane guys there.
Right, that's the first time we say that, and I go up there,
It's
just
just,
see guys are like,
there were people everywhere, every day. So, only.
So what am I talking?
but yeah, there's gonna be a fixed fee, we're gonna have a contract for you, and you're gonna have to check in every week to find out where you're going.
Do we know what the fee is?
I propose 1,200,
Wow.
it's $50 a session. Idea.
They can negotiate.
Okay.
And we choose where you're gonna be.
But I think that should be in the contract, like in the contract language.
And then the rest of it is, so all those numbers you've been able to see, they've even grown since I got those pulled a week ago. So
What's the triathlon limit?
triathlon limit is at like 200 right now.
It's about 200.
Yeah. So. Was it around 200?
And we had last year, we had, how many?
It's usually.
It was like.
That's the
200.
limit
Or are you asking maximum capacity?
Like, did we say that we will take only 250 athletes, 200 athletes, 180 athletes?
In the past, it's been 275 bikes is our capacity. And about 325 people.
Oh, because of the relay?
Yeah.
Okay, and last year we were at half that, or something like that.
We were like 200 last year.
Oh, 200, okay. Okay. And it's in July?
22nd.
Okay, are you done?
I hope so.
Okay.
Kudos,
Okay.
full offerings.
Matt, not Matt. Can you talk, did you want to talk at all about that property, piece of property?
If any of you guys saw the corner came up, it does, there's 4 separate parcels, the very back one, go down it and start coming back up, does abut the back of the campground property. And it would give access to the highway. If you guys were ever interested in, we always look at adjacent properties as they come up for sale. So just wanted you guys to be aware of it. I figured you guys probably saw it.
I
And
just
it's
saw it
1.2.
first time, 1.8.
1.89.
Yes.
It's 46 acres total, 4 parcels. Middle part of it is, swamp, unusable. On the other side of that swamp going up the hill. That's about the back.
But they're trying to sell the whole.
The whole thing. Yep. anyway, just
Parcel data.
on the radar.
Just a couple of thoughts for that. It has a home and we're gonna need a campground host.
It has what?
A house.
Two
yeah.
houses.
Sorry, I just kidding.
Oh, are they both on that lower corner?
One's down
I think they're closer to
above the
my
swamp, the one's right on the road. And there's a barn. I mean, it was an equestrian center. What's funny about it is next door here, that property came up for sale, what was that, 14 years ago maybe? And we looked at it, same thing, we looked at it for a small community center, a house, programming. I can't remember what it was listed at, but we got so much money.
Yeah.
It's probably 3 times what it was then, so it's always kind of like a big sticker shock, but 10 years.
My big question was, if that was something we purchased, can you physically get from where that house is? I can understand the layout of the property, just from the swamp or the headwaters to the Maxwell. Can you get to the campground, or is that water all the way back in there to the border?
I have no idea.
Does that make sense?
Your best spot would probably be right up by the school property where the pond, the freshman pond has that.
That's why I'm asking, it just
Because
seems like
that-
a lot of water.
It's hard.
Yeah, because all of our water from up here is captured. That's where it dumps, is right onto that property.
We're just thinking the potential to access the campground from, say, Maxwell, if you wanted to.
Yep.
Is that possible?
It would be above.
That's right.
You would have to access the parcel.
525.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I'm asking.
yeah, I believe so.
So you can't go across because of that wetland that's in the middle, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think, put that one back up.
Which one?
From what I've seen of it, it just looks like it's pretty wet in there almost all year long.
It is, right at the bottom of it.
And I was just thinking about the value of the property outside of access.
Where you are.
Turn back to your homepage.
You had it.
So just stop right there. So there's the corner, so you can see houses, make a house and a barn. This is the one that I think is right at the bottom where all the water comes through.
Yeah, so
So
that's,
it's like right up here.
Yeah, that's the question I'm asking. So if you take the top part of that, for example, and you access and try to get into the campground, I don't know that that's necessarily a easy thing to do.
From houses,
Correct.
actually,
yeah,
never walked in.
the lower loop of the campground is here, right?
No, it's way over. That's the school property.
I thought this was the edge of the school. Oh, you're saying it's here?
Yeah.
So the payment, rough numbers, the payment on that loan would be $7,000 a month. A 30-year.
Well, we could be landlords. Make that almost in the 2000s anymore.
Yeah, so, we've talked about, we have in the comp plan a property acquisition matrix that we developed as part of the last comp plan cycle to rate a property in terms of its ability to support programs and facilities and, is it in a place that there aren't parks? Is it part of the core park system? So I would propose that we do that valuation because from a monthly finances standpoint, it's likely we could budget to pay that loan back. Like I said, to accommodate $7,000 a month impact with budget work, we're going to go into this budget cycle. That's certainly a plausible thing we could do. So I would suggest that we, Carrie, you get the acquisition matrix. We have it, it's in the comp plan section, and that we share it out to the board and have each board member do a rating. And then it was designed to each, get a chance to rate it and then come back and we'll I'll commit to do that, do a more detailed financial on the payback, and we can just compare, do we see it having high value? And if so, are we willing to accept that financial, as that, and that's assuming it would be just an organic thing. Another option that we've done, like with the property across the street, is take it to the voters as a bonded action, at the same time seeking grant support in the same way. If we financed it, we could seek grant support. We're 1 year out of cycle, but it's only a year away. And I would say, last thing I'll say is that from our experience with the grant programs, there is a balance between development and acquisition. So there are certain funds, certain categories of funds that are available purely for acquisition. And then there's other ones that are for either acquisition or development. So, if we needed to buy this, build an aquatic center, that would be one category. And then the fact that we're going to build the aquatic center now, that's a development category. In my experience with the RCO, their mission is more aligned to acquisition and protection of property in the public trust than it is towards development of things. And it's just my perspective. I think it would be highly likely that we could get an RCO grant for somewhere between 500K, the acquisition numbers are bigger, so between 500K and half of that loan value as a RCO reimbursement because of the protection of that property in the public trust in perpetuity. So I think that take that as another factor in your thought process about it. So anyway, if you could find that, Carrie.
So I see SWPRD acquisition evaluation matrix.
That's it. Yeah.
It looks like it's specific to, I'm a little confused about it. Does this look like the right thing?
Yep. That's it. Yeah, it's in a number of categories we created categories that then we weighted. So there's more weight associated with if it's a core part of the park core. There are other factors like the number of uses of boards, if it's in there that are no parks. And then there was you'll assign a grade to it. I think it's 1, 3, 5, or 7 or something like that. And it does support it or it doesn't support it. And you end up with a weighted average score, like 1 to 5. Like I say, if we end up, everybody considers it to be high value, I think it's one thing. And if everybody said it doesn't have high value.
Should anybody perhaps make a little inquiry to whoever the realtor is or anything like that, just to kind of?
I mean, I think it's what we've done in the past. When we interface with the Watermans for the other property, we tried to get a meeting with them. Not with I don't know if the first meeting we went with the listing realtor, or if we just talked to the Watermans.
There wasn't a list.
Oh, there wasn't?
For the 40 acres?
Yeah.
No, there was no.
No. Yeah, I would think so. But I would defer to your expertise in that.
I don't know, so you could do the research, and I'll find brokers if no help to me.
Is that who this is?
Yeah, they're all finding brokers.
Oh,
I'd be surprised if any of them ever stepped foot on that one.
okay.
I'm curious about the asking price as well. It has lots of potential, but on the same token, a lot of it's wet. It's right by the highway. So for a potential buyer, someone who wants equestrian and wood gown beauty, it has a high school on one side, a highway on another side, Maxwell on one side, and water. So if you look at it in those terms, it has greater value to Park and Rec than it does to an individual home.
Yeah, maybe.
Is it,
Did you see it
is
in
it
the?
just
Probably gonna be rural residential.
It said it was divided.
commercial zoning or?
Well, of course, it's 46 acres, yeah.
I mean, it's 4 separate parcels.
Did it, just,
It said it can be divided down, so probably 5.
I saw you had for the,
There we
parcel.
go, rural ag,
Yeah, I sent you the-
yeah, rural ag and
It also said it had forest management.
Where's the
current enforcement.
Yeah.
be the mobile home park, the Benson? Oh.
Like, you were headed for the parcel
Got
here, did you see who the property owners?
They're from town. Jason, who used to work here, knew them, knew the owners.
Okay,
I asked that they come talk to us before they listed it. We lost that connection. So
yeah, no, your suggestion, I think, is good. I think we should, whether, Jennifer, you think whatever the path you think is the best, I think to your point, Eric, I think comps, like when we were looking at this, we found 3 comps. And that helped us, kind of say, is it 1.8 million or is it really 1.2 or whatever? And what I'll do is I'll reach out to RCO and I'll just send them a note saying, hey, this has come up. We would likely seek grant funding in the 2024 cycle. And just let them respond. Hey, we got a bunch of, there's a bunch of unexecuted funds coming out of this cycle. Good news. You could, who knows? At least just let them know.
That's really interesting, Matt. I think the potential to do that. I mean, that's good information.
Can you tell how far it goes?
Oh,
Yeah, like how far does it go versus our property line?
it connects the lower,
Corner.
corner, but
That's what I thought.
not quite, not all the way.
It doesn't
to the
run
top
in,
of the hill.
it doesn't run into the Waterman storage.
No, not even close. There's actually a water piece, I believe, above it. There's a 25-acre piece, I think, above it, and it's right below it on our bottom corner.
So it would be, the proposed loops, it would be by loop C?
Yes,
You mean that
If
camp?
you got time, I'd be willing to walk that too, if anybody else wants to. I would really like to see where that is potential. I mean, it's a unique opportunity.
We won't look at it.
To me, it'd be really interesting to see it relative to to our property line, because that part to me is still not clear.
Last question I'll ask, does that open up any septic possibilities for the campground, or are we already too far into it?
campground's got great septic. We just got to pump up the hill.
I understand that.
I would say no, because that lower, closer to the swamp is where
Yeah,
it gets
I was
worse.
assuming that.
Yeah, the further you get down the hill, the worse it gets. That's just the way it's
Seems to show only one of the 4.
Yeah, right, but you can see the full.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
And how it attaches to our property.
So
So
this is ours.
Then
this is this is the upper parcel. So there's that much joint, I believe that's a Waterman 25-acre
And
piece.
Tom, you were saying earlier, the potential from 525 is dry. You could access from 525 along that and avoid the wetland area.
Yeah,
Right.
I believe so. If you,
Yeah.
you can scroll
Okay,
out.
great campground entrance,
Yeah.
straight off the highway, but everyone is.
Yeah,
That to
You're right
me,
there.
that to me seems very intriguing,
that's a great entrance.
especially
So
push back
who's
to the
the-
school district
who
about
is that?
proximity and
Waterman,
access.
it's Waterman.
No, the ones that are for sale.
Oh.
Are those all the same, those 4?
The estate of Karen B.
Kirshner.
Kirshner, so look at that, so it's family that's listing it.
Where is it?
Right here,
Kirshner.
the estate of Karen B. Kirshner.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Heir to the Kirshner, Don Kirshner rock icon.
You know, with Jake's point that he was making earlier about the city of Langley wanting to have a path, between the the city and there's also, you know, the momentum for a path from south to north and,
Yeah.
it would be a nice connection.
In terms of campground too, that accessing it from 525 would be so much better than Maxwell with all, and I say that political reasons and aesthetics, just.
Signage,
Yep.
access.
Probably make the school feel more comfortable.
There are 2 separate farms, each with a barn and a dwelling. The first 3 tax parcels are zoned rural ag. The farthest one from Max Welton is zoned rural. It's a 17.23 acre tree farm.
That might be that property.
That's the furthest one.
Okay,
What do you mean?
that's a tree farm, so it's in 17 acres and it's in forest management.
Oh, that is before, yeah. I see.
Yep, there we go.
Oh, and there's well, wait a minute. You said Kirshner was the owner, but this says Kirshner.
Yeah, so this is most likely family.
Right, but it says they're the broker too? Broker.
Yeah, the broker's representing the estate because the seller's dead.
Oh, yeah, but I thought it said Kirshner was the broker at the very bottom.
Yes,
Okay. So they own it, or they're,
no, she's representing
Oh, got it.
representing the estate.
okay, so
Carrie Kirshner is the broker who works for
Got it.
Agency One,
got it,
who's representing the estate of Karen B. Kirshner.
got it.
Because it's an estate, Karen B. Kirshner's dead.
Right, but it sounds like the relative is the broker.
Yeah,
Correct.
relative broker.
Got it, okay.
Yeah.
Well, so it's, you know, it's not the nameless, faceless holding company, it's someone connected to the former owners of the property or the owning family of the property. So that's better.
So again, maybe instead of looking at the whole thing, we look at the 17 acres, that's really the most advantageous for
Do they indicate,
campground entrance or access or whatever.
is there any other
Just-
indication in there that they would subdivide?
Or maybe even take on the swamp parcel.
Yeah,
Just for
useless.
preservation, it's used, you know, they would still be able to sell the homes, the art, all of that. And that would, if we did the swamp and the tree farm, that would preserve the green space. And might sweeten the deal, they could get rid of that parcel and not have to deal with
These
it.
2.
Yeah, and those are the cheaper ones, you would think, from a valuation standpoint, right?
Yeah.
No structures, not level.
So would they consider splitting it?
Okay.
Yeah, and if you could get that under, say you get that under half, then that's supported by a broader range of RCO grants at, you know, say it was 600,000. Almost all of the eligible grants would support a $300,000 grant request.
Does the wetland part, Matt, give us a better shot at an RCO based on what you said earlier, like, you know, when you're trying to
Yes.
acquire something that isn't going to be.
Well, it gives you a chance to use a different grant program. I can't remember, but within WWRP local parks, there are some that are for preservation of habitat, that kind of thing. So you could,
That should be better.
And maybe even ecology, there could be some other.
yeah, other sources, yeah.
Yeah, you can.
So literally,
Yeah.
that right there is the point of all the water dumping out of the park, the school, and everything, and it flows right underneath. And you look down in there when you're driving, there's standing water.
Right.
So that's the tree farm.
17.
Yeah.
So the smaller one is, that one's 17, what's the second one?
Didn't it say 8.9 or something?
Yeah, so 25,
You turned on the layer.
so it's 25,
So really, in terms of. lots-
17.23 for the trees, and then what's the one to the left?
so 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But most of the
26. Well, so, but I mean, just in terms of cost comparison, so
Yeah,
That's 26 compared to 40, right? If we did 220s, this would be. And it says, what's the valuation in the county?
170.
And what's the valuation of the other one? 170 for the swamp.
250.
Yeah, so say as a, you know, in negotiation with a public entity like the park, 420. Right? To me, that, I mean, if you talk about that again.
They're gonna have a hard time selling that wetland area. That's like somebody will buy this a buffer.
Right, but at that, if it was 420 and we were buying it to then seek reimbursement for half, at 420, our payment would be $150 a month? No, hang on, sorry, 2,600.
Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't have to pay, so sorry, 2,300, and then seeking reimbursement for half. So for sure we could budget, if we could parse it like that, for sure we can budget that. And I would say then we should do the acquisition rating on those two pieces. If you think it's plausible that they would get those off or separate those.
Most of the questions.
Then we don't, it's more confusing if we're trying to evaluate the house and the barn and all that stuff.
They're gonna parcel it out. It seems to me to be driving buyer, especially with Rock Island. They're gonna buy those first two. They're not gonna have interest in the other ones as much as well.
Right,
It's a lot of
you would
acreage.
hope, yeah, you would hope.
What's that, clear cut space? What is that parcel? That, yeah.
That's a horse place too. It's a. Those are the people who used to ride through what's now the campground property. That was Gate Line property, the Whitcombs.
Yeah.
And Dick would get so mad coming through my property to get to the park.
Yeah.
That's where they came from.
Great. Are we done with the staff report?
The only other thing I got, do you guys want to put out a press release about the owl? Get the signs down.
Is it done?
I haven't had a report in weeks. I've been talking with people, do you even see them anymore? I haven't seen the one around my shop lately. So we've had no reported attacks. Just wondering if we want to put something out. The owl activity seems to disperse. So,
Proceed with caution, but
yeah, I
seems.
mean,
Yeah.
Was it ever in the news?
Yep.
It's in the national news.
oh, yeah.
The national.
Not because, well, just referring to our Facebook posts.
Yeah, that's kind of my point, like, if it wasn't in the local newspaper, I don't know if we need a press release, but should we do a social media post?
People ask for an update when it was
Yeah.
safe to come back.
Yeah, we
I've
should,
had a lot of people ask me.
yeah, I think we should
Then I can
absolutely
take all the signs down.
do an update, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask you
Yeah.
before we did. So, yeah.
I just had one more, item to add, very quick one. I was contacted by the county today about signage for Max Welton trails that Pat McVeigh was gonna do. Looks like they're getting ready to issue a permit. They needed some more information from Pat. And it shouldn't take too long as he's on it. So we're very close for that site. That's all I got for that part.
Can you remind if we already authorized pretty sure we did, authorized him to go forward up to a certain
No, we set it aside because we didn't have the permits or anything like that. I'm pretty sure that was said, let's put a,
Do we have his?
Pretty sure.
Do we have his bid?
we have an invoice.
Yeah, my recollection is we approved it. We should check. Because I don't want it to slow down for another meeting. If we haven't.
I thought we did.
That's
Yeah,
what
I thought we did as well.
Mhm.
Maybe we did. In a motion or something?
I think so we did.
Okay, and it was like when Doug was there.
Just get Doug's last,
Yeah.
Doug's last month.
February.
So then-
I'll look at the minutes. I'll
Okay.
go on to the next thing.
Okay.
January, February, those two. Okay. Committee reports?
Do I just go down the list? Say no report if there's no report?
Government parks,
Swimming pools coming up later.
cool, campgrounds, not too much to report there, except that we have a new contact. There's, once again, bit of change of personnel at Island County, and we have a new contact there.
Within
However,
planning or within?
with planning. And however, in the positive side to it, they actually reached out to us to tell us that they are our new contact going forward. It wasn't like, we wrote and they're like, oh, yeah, we just moved you over. So I found that encouraging. Not much has been done. The next step, well, I think maybe a short meeting, Tom, and I know Jake is super busy. I think where the logjam in right now is at Island County. And so I was hoping to ask Jennifer to join us since you know more about Island County workings than I do. Would that be okay?
Planning and health aren't communicating. And they
That's correct.
won't. They won't.
Well,
I mean,
that's
they're very forthright about that.
How do we do that, and what do we.
So can we get a meeting with all the powers that be that we need to get permission to move forward to,
That's kind of my question.
can we get authorized
How do we do that?
to spend the money we have by the end of the year?
Yeah, so
Because
this is, the site.
we can't wait.
The document that's missing is the site plan.
They're not talking to each other,
Yeah,
And they won't.
and how can we,
So we can request a meeting.
We can request a meeting with the commission.
because we did that 5-6 years ago. We went up, we sat,
So-
we had a meeting. It's like
That was
5
part
meetings.
of what Doug had done. I mean, that was kind of one of his
Right.
last acts, was that he had Mary Engel's attention.
right, and that's what got us a little further down the road, but now it's dissolved again. They're once again not on the same page. So, and it's a question, I think what Doug was able to do was get various powers that be at planning department in a room together. Now we need to get health in the same.
Because I think the question needs to be asked, why do we have to wait to have a septic design approval before we can just do the gravel work? Because we're only gonna have enough money to go in and do the rough, basic road. What do we need to do to get approval for that? Because the septic piece is 10 years out.
Right, and we have a letter from Health, Island County Health, saying
We have permeable soil.
if you're not gonna be putting in restrooms right away, you can go ahead, like, we have no problem
Yes.
if you're not gonna be doing septic, but planning department keeps coming back to, well, you need the septic plan for your restrooms, and they're not
But we
understanding,
don't, yeah,
we're not going to have restrooms.
we're not there.
And we have somebody in your organization who gets that and is cool with that, because planning keeps saying, we can't issue this until you get this from health.
Okay.
They're not talking to each other, they're not reading each other's memos. How do we?
I mean, that's the only way
So
I
do you
can.
have all of the memos? Can we put together a nice little package?
I think so. I think so. I think we have a documentation. Yeah.
And from a financial standpoint, one thing Carrie and I did was start to do kind of a reconstruction to figure out where we are on the finances. In the net, there is 208,000 in grant money that's needs to be, I mean, that is there to be reimbursed to us if we do require and accumulate the credits to invoice them. So there's a couple things we need to do. We need to account for the banked, essentially what we need to do is create a ledger. I think that would be a key element of this. And what I mean by that is in that fund, we have receipts and we have expenditures. And that calculation is what we use to base seeking reimbursement from the state RCO, the thing we need to do before the end of the calendar year. We have not submitted an invoice to them since 2021. So what we need to do is and this is just our reconstruction so far. So that ledger, fortunately, in the RCO grant management system, PRISM, we can see every transaction in the history. There's only like 10 of them. So we can see what came in and what went out, what came in, what went out, and we can see what was submitted for. We submitted a David O bill for the septic pre-study for $1,800. We submitted $800 worth of admin expenses. What we have not done is collected the work that we have done since, I think it was August of 2021. So we have 2 years of stuff to reconstruct as best we can. We need to say, we spent this much staff time, this much equipment, this much work to get the permit, so it's administrative time that's not associated with construction is creditable. Equipment time, staff time associated with pre-construction work like digging holes and scouting the septic and mapping out where the road's gonna go and all those things. So all those are reimbursable expenses. They give us credit. And if we've built up $200,000 worth of those things and we submit, then we can submit $200,000 in expenses and they'll reimburse us $100,000 back. So we need to catch that up. There's 2 tools for that. The other thing we need to do that's part of this is a progress report. The state in RCO requires us, and it's not clear what the periodicity is, but they require us to make periodic progress reports. There's a format, what have you done? What roadblocks have you run into? What expenses have you incurred? It's basically just a snapshot. We were doing those about every month or 2, 3, up until August of 2021, and then we stopped. That was Doug writing those reports, so he stopped writing those reports. So we have a template. So what we need to do is we need to write a progress report using their template, his format, taking one of his old ones, and then use that as our impetus to list off all the things we've done in 2 years that we could reimburse. So we send that off and get that chunk. And then then we'll know how much is left. Maybe it's 150 left, maybe it's 200 or it's 100 left. And then between now and December 31st, we need to expend twice what's left.
So do we have money to do that? So like one of my ideas was, if we know we're going to get approval to at least do the initial loop, let's say, can we go and buy the gravel and stockpile it off site? We can't.
No, I asked.
Okay.
I
But
asked planning.
The no is to planning.
Yeah.
There was a yes from RCO.
RCO said we could do that.
Yes, yeah.
What
RCO,
materials
Yeah.
would be used in that?
and that's RCO wants us to do that. Like, think of RCO or the county. RCO is asking us to spend the money we want
So
to.
we could stockpile it, but the county said no, we could not move any, we couldn't move dirt to put down.
I mean, if we can find someplace else to put it.
Any stock,
we can
yeah, that's what I was
stock,
gonna
But
say.
basically, it was just like, no, not until you get the permit, because I can go back and look at. But I did ask that, like, can we go ahead and purchase these materials so that at least we can use these funds in some way? And they were like, not until you get a permit. But again, if we can, instead of just going back and forth on
We can just say,
email,
let
if
us,
we can get into a room and be like, hey, can we at least buy gravel and dump it somewhere?
I mean, at this point, if they gave us the permit, we could go in, remove the trees that need to be removed, and I can hire the dump trucks to come in and spread the gravel around the whole stinking loop.
But we can't do, yeah,
I know,
so,
until you have a permit, you can't. I'm just,
right.
but do we have the
So
money?
Jonathan Lang's not our planner.
Do we have the
No,
money
He
to
wasn't
buy
that
that
very,
material?
but.
Yeah, so we
Then
need to
it's
make,
not.
yes,
It's not gonna be-
we need to
We have a
make
new
that.
person, but they reached out to us. So,
Yeah, so from a budget standpoint, to Tom's last question, so when we do that, look from May 25th to December 31st, laying out the expenses that we will need to, the money we will need to spend to get the reimbursement, that's when we can then roll that into the budget, the rest of your budget. Like, we need $20,000 in gravel, we need this much in some third party to do this, we need, whatever. So I think that projection, then we can, between me and Carrie, we can roll that into the rest of your budget. Figure out how we're gonna fund it.
I mean, we could, if we know we're gonna need a gate, we'd start looking into buying the gate,
All that
and
stuff.
having it on the ground.
Yeah, they said the gate was fun.
Yeah, like all that stuff, like, it's, and actually, now that you say that, Brennan did that cost estimate, and I don't know if the numbers are right, but they have each one of those buckets. They have gate, they have gravel, they have site prep, they have plumbing, water lines. So they itemize that, and that could be a good template for us to, maybe the new Brennan person can give us a scrubbed update.
Pipe is expensive. I can calculate how much pipe we're gonna need to go from the pump house over, and I can buy the pipe and we can cover it and have that.
Yeah, see, I'm pretty sure Brennan, when we did those meetings, did that. We asked him for that. They didn't do it at the beginning, but we asked him for that detail. Pipe starts over here. We got to run it all the way through the first loop. We got 6 fixtures, 10 fixtures, 28 fixtures, whatever it was. But I'm pretty sure that Excel spreadsheet exists.
well, I mean, I did, so Terry sent over all of those files. And I have to be honest, most of it took up pretty much all of my memory. So I needed to then delete a bunch of the design files because they were just killing my computer. But I tried to keep anything that
Can they go on
was
SharePoint or not?
Excel based that would be more financial. And do you know what I mean? I was like, I don't need the drawing plans and the layers. Like, I don't need that detail. I need the
Yeah,
numbers
that
and I need
spreadsheet
the
is
plan.
that's an Excel.
So that's what I kept, and I should be able to grab.
Yeah, then I think if we could just plan it out by month, say, this is the sequence, we need gravel first, we need pipe second, gate third, whatever.
Yeah, but I'm
Spread that across.
still back to figuring out who at the county
Right.
and getting that process going and reaching out. And that's pulling together the documentation. That's where,
Yeah.
That's
the milestone.
That's the milestone, and I don't have
But we need somebody with public health.
Allen County.
Island County.
The director his office is literally down the hall. The new director is right down there.
Okay.
In fact, he's there a couple
What's
days a
his
week. You might see him walk by. His name
What
is
is that?
Sean Morris.
Sean Morris.
Dr. Sean Morris.
That's a JW, maybe something.
Former student. Yes.
S of health.
So related to this is I had reached out to Drew at J.A. Brennan.
That's the new contact that you were talking about. That's the new contact.
No, that's not, no, that's not.
Drew is a new person, right?
I don't think Drew is new with J.A. Brennan.
Yeah.
And Associates. I don't know. He's the only one that I've been talking to. He'd been trying to reach out to Doug last year or something like that. But anyways, so I reached out to him to get the files that you referenced, and so he sent those over there. Huge and hard to access. But I said, you know, that we were moving forward. We wanted to know a little bit more about the plans for the roads, and we could talk about stockpiling supplies. And I just said, you know, we're interested in meeting with them to talk about some next steps with design perhaps. So
In the files, did they send the Excel spreadsheet with the project budget?
it is possibly. It's a very huge file, and getting through it is kind of complicated to find everything, so I can look.
Okay.
But it'll take a little time. But anyways, he said that they'd be happy to set up a meeting, maybe even come here and meet us in person.
Great.
So DCG, which I stayed with, I think, our civil engineer is not far from you as well. They're working on something. So that's another meeting we could set up.
But if they come here, I think that'd be great. That'd be walk things, get a bunch of questions on the table, like
Yeah, we need a
update the
permit.
plan.
We need to get past that.
Yeah, we gotta get that.
We gotta get past that account.
Yeah,
Just,
and I think if we
And
get
then
that
then we
permit,
can do this.
that will be persuasive, I think, in saying, look, we've gotten this milestone. Can you please extend our grant?
So.
Yeah.
Unless anybody else wants to try to pull that together. Okay.
So what I just heard, is this the health
I
person
will-
who needs to be in the?
No,
Not necessarily, because it's gonna be, maybe it's the sanitarian, maybe it's one of the people under the
it's
sanitarian.
the woman who wrote that letter. We have that letter.
Which letter? The one email?
Yeah,
Okay, I can find that.
all right, we can go, I can,
get everybody in the same room and say, what's the hold up for just the permit for the dirt road, for not putting in restrooms? That's the toughest. Is there anyone you know that knows what's up there that can?
Well, we've got a planner, so. And then if the whole hangup is that planning department is saying they won't issue anything until we've got our septic permit, which, I mean, that's right. You have to have water, then you have to have a septic plan, then you can get a building permit, right? You've got to be able to drink and poo on your property. So that, they're just following what the flow is, but the fact that.
It's just not a house, that's the.
Exactly, and that we're not having facilities, that's 10 years down the line, so we can say we
Clear
have this
there.
plan, but we don't need to
Yes.
have.
Leah Barron.
Yeah,
That's
she's
okay.
is
We just
she the
need a
one that-
sign off from the sanitarian or whoever
Land
this
use
person
board.
is.
Yeah, but isn't she
To
the
take
one?
over to the planning department and says, here you go, and then you
Patricia.
go, here's a check in the box.
But isn't she the one that just did our
Patricia.
permit for the Maxwell Trail sign?
So, quote,
And
this
then
is Patricia Schultz, assistant planner.
Vandenberg.
I believe she's still there. If septic and wastewater improvements are not part of phase one, please provide a narrative of what supplemental wastewater disposal plans will be, including portable toilets or pit toilets. And I'm pretty sure that we have a letter from Doug that says exactly that. For specific questions, contact this person. Here's the interim health director, Lori Clark, who's definitely gone. So that's the crux right there.
They
There's
said-
somebody who's just like, if, just tell us what your plan is, pit toilets and things like that, and then we're good to go. Meanwhile, the planners keep saying you need to get clearance from the health department on this issue.
So we have Doug's letter.
I believe so. I will
I
go
think I'm
back,
getting all of these emails that you're receiving. Just
which
which is fine. I just,
I will go back and
You got enough email?
yeah.
follow that trail.
It seems like we could be one meeting away from
It feels like.
everybody signing up.
And maybe if we can't find that specific language from Doug about what the plan was in terms of a mobile, then we just need to write up a memo that explains that plan.
Oh, but I'll bet you.
Well, don't we already have a plan from J.A. Brennan in conjunction with DCG, David O. Great Salt?
Yeah, but I bet Doug, I remember Doug writing that letter.
Right.
Like,
Do you think you would have emailed it?
yeah, to email it to whatever the planning contact was at the time.
Can you do a search on, mobile water trailer or
Could just say any attached, it would be an attached file.
parties or, something like that?
Okay, so.
That's letter D.
Wait, so the plan is to schedule a meeting, is someone scheduling a meeting with some people?
County planning and county health.
Let me pull together a packet, first of all, okay? Then, let me try to track down this dude and confirm the whoever is working, the Sean Morris who's working down the hall, let me confirm with them who we need from the health department on this. And then I will pull them together with our new planner and Tom and pull together a meeting.
Well, then maybe optimistically, they have a secret bat phone. And when you explain this and you have the packet, they say, oh, that's simple, let me call. And they pick up when that phone rings.
Let's hope.
So,
Okay. All right, maintenance capital projects.
Well, we gotta get so what Tom said earlier, I think we need to get the capital projects quotes so we can execute the budget. So I would just say march forward so that we can execute the budget.
Okay. Amphitheater will cover down in unfinished business, sports fields,
Everything's beautiful.
lakes properties,
Everything's beautiful.
trails.
Well, so lake properties did change, right? We had the state work at Deer Lake.
oh, yeah,
Right.
that was the
Yeah.
last meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Great.
covered that, yeah.
Everybody I've talked to has been real happy with it.
And the fishing tournament went off.
Okay. Trails, Matt and I walked Trustland. I've got a map and notes for signage. I need to get to you to move forward on the signage.
Sure.
Pool will cover down below. All right.
What about the signage, parking lot?
Yeah, it's fine, it's taken care of, yeah. Unfinished business, so let's move into the comprehensive plan programs, Southwood Aquatic Center. Joan?
You wanna,
Yeah, let me go over some of the basic stuff that I had in the memo, and
Yeah.
then you're gonna fill in
Sure.
with the fun stuff.
sure.
So the contract with Department of Commerce has been fully executed. That was a big deal. So we'll be able to get reimbursements soon. Yeah,
Well,
Matt,
it's-
thank you.
Well, I mean, it's.
Thank you, Matt, for doing the heavy lifting and reading and reviewing of that, so I was
You're
comfortable
welcome.
signing it.
It represents for us, at least in my knowledge, the first time we will be the recipient of state capital money in the district, in the history of the district. So all these little crossing Ts and dotting Is, it took a while because it's the first time I've ever done it. They don't know us as an entity. We didn't understand their language. Yeah. So there are two parts to this contract, and you can see the start date on this thing. So minor emergency when the start date was promulgated. So these were funds that were from what they call the supplemental capital budget in 2022. So these were issued to us, signed by the governor in like March of 2022. But they are state fiscal funds, as we learned from here, that originated in July of 2021, and you have 2 years to spend them. So when we get the contract signed in May of 2023, our expiration date on the funds is June 30th of 2023. So we have 5 weeks to spend it all.
Yeah, so which is the next item,
So we
yeah.
had to request what they call a reappropriation. So if you get to 6:30 and you haven't spent it, or you've spent part of it, not all of it, they take it back. And they reappropriate to whatever they want, unless you ask them to reappropriate it to you. So we formally asked, I wrote a memo to Representative Paul, and it went back into the process, and they're going to be reallocated or reappropriated to us on 6:30 with an effective date of 7/1/23, and that will reset the clock to 6:30 of 2025. So we get 2 years. And so we told the state that, we told Commerce, the guys who issued this contract. So right now think we're good. And Representative Paul sent me an email yesterday actually saying, hey, are we good? And I said, yes, sir. I think we're good, thank you. So I told him thanks on behalf of the district again. There's one part of this that we need to be aware of. And can you scroll to the language about references to the funding in this contract?
I don't know what page I'm doing.
I'll take them out.
So this is something that we need to change in our referencing of this money, because we've got this money and we're going to, knock on wood, get money from this budget that is to be signed here shortly for 2023. And it's go back, it's earlier than this, political activities or some publicity, 26, page 7.
Thanks, Doug.
The link.
No, I don't think it's that smart.
Okay. Yeah, there was kind of two aspects to it. What page am I?
Keep going. It's bullet for number 26. Oh, keep going. I thought you said it was 26. You were going to.
7.
Page 7.
Oh, 11.
Keep going now.
Yeah, here.
Oh, they misnumbered
I
it.
think it's misnumbered.
Yeah, it's misnumbered.
Yeah, because you
It's
were number
all
26.
public.
Well, there's kind of two parts. There's two numbers.
Yeah, keep going. It's 26, you're at. No, I guess there is no 26.
So see how it started over.
It's under publicity, it's the title.
No, you're
There.
there. There you go. Yep.
Not publish or use any advertising.
Yeah, so there's two parts to this. So it
Let's
says,
make it bigger, sorry.
Is mentioned.
so it says we cannot use, where do I go? Oh, there we go. So we cannot imply the source of the funds in advocating or describing like a bond measure or something like that without Commerce granting that request.
Okay.
You gotta find the language.
But they said that we could say the taxpayers of Washington
Yeah,
State.
we gotta find that reference. So the key is this terminology, and it's in here somewhere else. Just look up, search on taxpayers. There we go. So this is the key.
Okay.
So when we reference, so displays or circulates any communication, publication, or donor recognition indicating who's financially participating. Like in the past, we've said the state capital budget or Department of Commerce or our state representatives or our legislative District 10 representatives. So this is the terminology. So the funding is coming from one source, and it's the taxpayers of Washington State. In our literature, in our factual information on the website, associated with the bond, for example, That's what it needs to say. So when we talk to somebody or public interface or citizen comes up to talk to us or you want to introduce somebody, that we can thank our representatives, but that's the source of funding. So that to me is the most important thing out of the contract, that part. And that was the other language was don't say thanks to Commerce. We have this septic study drawing.
The septic brought to you by the Department of
Right.
Okay, so in the memo, I stated that, so the topographic survey was coming along and we should have information about that more if you're interested. That the geotechnical survey and hydrology survey was not panning out. So ARC went and started pursuing other avenues, and that seemed to have lit a fire under Palmer. And so now it's happening.
Oh,
So, yeah, so.
He didn't have liability insurance,
It was general liability for some reason, so
so he got the insurance.
he got into it.
That's, yeah.
Didn't have
What?
No.
Yeah, so the JACC committee met with ARC and see the designs you can check out. I think I sent it out, some files, so I had to email it.
Yeah.
And
it's,
it was hard.
Pick the second one. So the thing that they did that was different. So everything had been in Eric's form in 2D. So Eric has a 2D layout for them.
Thank you.
So where they're doing the first floor and second floor, the layout on the site where you see Maxwell. So what they did as a change in this round is now it's an elevation, their elevation drawings. So there's a 3D of what the building looked like from looking from here. No, this is from the parking lot. Yeah, so from here, and then an elevation from above and the side and this exterior. So that's what, there's 3 different concepts that they drew out based on feedback on the survey. This one, and then, like I said, there's 2 other ones similar, just in terms of total, general layout, and then the committee and Carrie representing staff provided feedback on what we like, what we didn't like, and then it's going to go through another iteration to narrow it down instead of 3 down to maybe 2 concepts or 1.5 concepts. So the idea behind, and they left these behind, so the idea behind this is it's a way we come up with some setup in here or something, like we have the Brennan thing for the campground in there. We can have these out and as people, members of the public come in to register for something or reserve a campsite or, reserve a shelter, pickleball court. We just ask them, we can ask them for feedback, thoughts, what do you like, what do you not like.
Do we want to just invite the public to come look at it? Say like between these hours and these hours?
Yeah, so we.
Or is it too soon?
No, I think it's a great idea. So we have in the plan, there are 2 public meetings scheduled for June and August, I think, where they're gonna come. And they're gonna talk, as representatives of the design firm, they're gonna talk and then we'll invite people and get questions. But when we did this during COVID, we had the public meetings for the levy and no one showed up. So we want to get this out to as many people as possible. So that was the idea of coming in the office somewhere. So yeah, and figuring out how to invite people, maybe we put it on social media. Say, if you come by the Parks office, come take a look. Aquatic Center's coming together, give us your feedback. We have a little suggestion box.
So years ago, we did that down at the school. Remember having the big community meeting where everybody came
It
in?
was the church at that time.
Oh, that was the first one, was at the school.
Oh,
Way back.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, they did the one for the master plan. We did it over there.
this one was down at the intermediate, the old intermediate. This was years ago.
Yeah, but the most recent one was we did the mat. It was in the gym with that's got the carpet on the floor, the little gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, wherever we think we can pull it off, like to do those meetings, but I think if we put it in social media, I think we get way more people. And then those meetings, maybe we get additional traffic at those meetings because people have already come and seen them and want to hear what's the update. So anyway, so, that's why they're in here. Take a look at them, think about them. They all have the same general idea. There's a level and a mezzanine. Bottom level has staff offices plus the pools, and the mezzanine has just an open area for fitness and then maybe a couple classrooms, rentable rooms. There's 2 party rooms in every one that you can rent. Friday night, typical pools around here rent 2 periods, 2 2-hour blocks on Friday nights, 2 or 4 2-hour blocks on Saturdays, and 2 or 4 2-hour blocks on Sundays. And then the rest of the week, those rooms are available for meetings and classes and whatever, staff meetings, whatever else. These all feature the building looking out into the grassy area. The architect calls that the glade. Glade. It's just feel that they all look out that way, and they all have, like you see here, a patio sitting out in the grass. So the pool area opens out into a patio with some garage doors that are glass, and you walk out onto a patio and then out into the grass beyond that. That's generally how they all work. And in all cases, the parking lot's in the area where we have all these sick trees that we want to take down anyway. County, there was a county rule. This is one area where ARC is proven to have an ability to get the county to respond. So in the county rules on the occupancy, the size of the parking lot was going to have to be this size plus this entire building plus into this wetland. And the ARC asked for a waiver based on the math that they've done at other facilities that they've done around here, Rainier Beach and Sammamish and Port Angeles, and the county gave us a waiver. So it's back to this size. So we've had good success. They talked to the actual county. Pick them up, they pick up the phone evidently. Anyway, one other thing that you'll see in here, and it's really only reflected in this one, is one of the ideas of the design. When they did the study and they said, the feasibility study said, okay, people who go to pools, what else do they like to do in order? And the number one thing people who go to pools like to do is walking, hiking, that kind of thing, outdoor, on trails, doing something. So the idea was connect this building in some way to the trail system. Obviously, it's going to be right outside the door, but encourage people to come. Maybe you like to swim, but I don't. And so you're going to swim, and I'm going to go use the trails. So connect the building so that there's this indoor-outdoor connection, not just to the grass, but to the trails and the rest of the park. So they're parking here, and that's how they're accessing the park. They're not parking in there by the or upper field or down here at the lower area by the basketball courts. They're just walking in from here. So this one shows they have this idea of, and they've done this at this facility. I can't remember which one this is, but it's basically an indoor in the kind of lobby area. There's there's plantings, there's trees. So it's this indoor-outdoor connection. That's why they call this one the indoor forest. That was an idea. The other thing, though, that is where it is.
See that bridge?
Yeah, it's this one. Eric, can you pick that one up? So the thing that we focused the most on was what's it going to be like when you walk in? And this is the kind of style that bubbled up as is if you look in this, the white box in this thing, that's the lobby area. And there's other versions where the lobby is more of a hallway or a narrow area this is one where it's kind of an open area where you can walk in and gather. And that's the one that we've decided to favor, and you can see it here. That's a picture of it. So you walk in, there's some reception where we check you in, and then you can go into this area. You could sit, you could have a group, a coach could have a meeting with the team. A bunch of parents could be waiting, sitting around. So it's more of a open area reception than like this was foreseen as a like a narrower, this hallway area where you spread people out over over 100 feet with, a bunch of chairs and tables kind of thing. This is the one that seems more appealing to the committee, is give people a bigger place to gather in one area instead of spreading all out.
And I would say, just to clarify that it wasn't one over another. Not saying the Dollar Tree has everything you want, but rather certain things from certain designs.
Yeah, I like that.
So Matt, is there a timeline for which it would be good if commissioners were to have a chance to look at it and provide you feedback to take back to ARC or?
Yeah, the first public meeting on the schedule that we penciled in was for when? You have that, I think it's late June. So I think we collect feedback in the next few weeks. When you're around the park, you want to talk to me or Eric from sitting in on these meetings, or Carrie. The foundation reps on the meetings have been Marnie Zimmerman and Rich or Ray McFarland, who's another board member. So.
I'm sorry, let me cut that. So they're not going to make any changes to the designs or implement anything until after that. So these will still be relevant at that June.
Yeah, they're relevant in that, yeah, they are making changes based on the feedback that we've given them. But these are relevant in that, again, what they're trying to do is give us lots, not lots, within some certain scope. They're all the same, 20,000 square foot footprint. But just give us examples of architecture, like this one looks like a barn, this one looks like a barn. That one looks like there's a barn. This one's got this kind of elevated roof structure with, much higher walls, glass. So, it's more of that, like what appeals to you. Yeah, like this, I really like this idea, or I really love that one, or I don't like that one from a look and feel kind of thing. So that kind of thing is gonna be timeless while they're working through this. So I would guess the next thing we're gonna get from them in the next few weeks is another version of these. Maybe has two, maybe the one that got the least positive feedback was the barn style.
I would agree.
So my guess is this next time around, we won't see that. So maybe at that point, we just take those boards out. So again, they did this so that we could look at them and think about it and see what we liked and what we didn't like. And we gave them the initial feedback from the committee, and then now anything that we can get from the group. The foundation also looked at these the other night. They were here for the bond pool boat meeting. So anyway, so they're here, and I think the fact that they put them in 3D means that we can actually kind of like, okay, now I get it. The other thing I'll show, one other thing, again, it was more like features and ideas. Where's the one with the stairs? So this thing, has anybody been to the Kraken Iceplex in Hollywood,
North Kitty?
So North Kitty, when you walk into the Kraken thing, the lobby is just, it's a flat lobby and a drink over here, and then there's a set of stairs, and there's just a sidebar with actual stairs, and then there are these big, huge steps that, kids are sitting on after practice, before practice, whatever, and they call them like monument stairs. So that's what you see in this. Like when you walk in, there's all these have a second floor, so you gotta get there somewhere. You either do it with a little tiny set of stairs like this thing, where it just goes up and around like a regular set of stairs, or they were showing this where it's part of the space in there. Like your group, you're doing a stand-up paddleboard class, they all sit on there, and you do the teaching from, or people, you eat lunch on that thing, or whatever.
You can also see that just down at the Olympic Sculpture Park in Seattle. Also, the High Line in New York City has a very similar space. And then there's another, yes, it is used frequent, and
So
it
and that's-
attracts people.
Well, and this is the kind of thing where people coming in, even if they've changed the designs a little bit, people say, oh yeah, I really like that. So then we emphasize that we want to see that included in whatever the final. So anyway, so that's that part.
Thank you.
What else?
The only thing you were gonna maybe touch on here was the foundation's fundraising plan.
Yes, so what the foundation is initiated their capital plan or capital campaign. Trying to raise, their target is to raise 4 million. Current target is to raise 4 million in private capital. And they were talking about how to focus that. And what they have the conclusion they've come to from interviewing private donors is that they want to focus on funding from when the ribbon is cut forward. So what does that mean? That means one of their guiding principles for the campaign is equity. And that equity means anybody can come. So we want to make sure that anybody who wants to come in this building can come in this building without regard to their ability to pay. So if they can pay $0, they come. If they could pay $5 a month, they come and they pay $5 a month. So to pay for that, they want to establish an endowment that sits there to fund members of the public who need assistance in order to be able to come. So the message will be anybody can come. So that's number one funding goal. Then beyond that, it is safety is another word. So what they want to do, Anacortes School District does this, Oak Harbor School District does this, where they have every third grader or every fourth grader learns to swim. So from a safety standpoint, that after the ribbon's cut, private money, we want to make sure every kid gets a swim lesson, a series of swim lessons until they are safe, deemed safe. And that also extends, I think, in their plan to adults, voters, that kind of stuff where, there are a lot of adults who don't know how to swim either, right? So again, you may not have the resources to do 6 weeks of swim lessons to really learn how to swim, or 8 weeks of swim lessons. So they want to fund that. The second part of that, so there's an example of that in the local area, the recent pool, and that was Fircrest, the project for City of Fircrest in Tacoma did in 2017. They raised capital and they had $1.5 million endowment, and it paid for maintenance also. So that's one of the other things they're considering. So could that fund be available if, the warranty on the main pumps runs out at 5 years and we think they're going to last 20, but 2 of them die in year 6. So could that endowment be used to offset those kind of costs? So right now that the first 2 messages are equity and safety. And then they're working on it, but the 4 million is still the target. And they're off and running with that, interviewing people, trying to get commitments, trying to get pledges essentially. So that's that.
I would add that there's just been a lot of discussion on all of this, multiple meetings in a very good way. So when you look at it and your gut instinct is, well, why is the pool oriented this way? Or why would they have windows in this particular part? There's a reason behind everything. And I would just say to the board, for people who aren't part of those meetings, I really feel like there's a lot of input going into it, and everybody's pretty respectful of different viewpoints. All of a sudden you have these aha moments and you go, okay, that looks great on the drawing, but practical wise, it may not work as well as we think. Matt's had the luxury of going to a lot of different pools. I'm trying to make my rounds to pools as well. And the other part I would say is the future addition of the gymnasium. That piece of it is important, I think, as we go down the road in future years. And if you look at the design, just take that into consideration and vision flow. The last meeting we had, ARC did a really good job. They had a flow chart, And it's basically that where people are moving.
Yeah, it's this
Yeah.
thing.
And that was
So
a very productive thing to look at.
this is where yellow is how people come in and flow. And like Eric's saying, that like the gymnasiums, in some cases, in one case, they upsize the locker rooms from the start. So all you do is bolt on the gymnasium and those locker rooms feed into the gym. In another case, the locker rooms are sized smaller and the gymnasium footprint comes with additional locker rooms on it. We generally have told them, make the locker rooms big enough now, but you can see in all cases that the sport courts fit inside the footprint with the setback to the wetland. So,
And all of these, like I'm a fan of the Dollar Tree, like I said before, it isn't one particular design, but bits and pieces. So the Dollar Tree entrance and the foyer part, for me, flows really, really well. And something Matt and I talked about as we were walking out the other day, that I think is important, is that Whitby's a unique place compared to downtown Seattle in terms of parents dropping off kids or doing things. They don't go to a Starbucks while their kids in swim lessons. They need something to do here. And that's a little different variable. So I would throw that out just because as you think about people stopping, parking, their kids are in there, they're picking it up, the grandparents are coming to a birthday party, just be mindful of that because I think it's an important aspect of the design. Even something as simple, I keep coming back to the walking track, not for cardiovascular fitness, but just it gets people there with the kids, something to do in the same area.
and then I failed to mention that, but you're right. In all these cases, the second level, that track walks around the upper level of the aquatic park. And the challenge with that is they've got to ventilate it so that, because that pool area is going to be 83, 84 degrees. And so that upper area, their challenge is to ventilate it so that you're walking around, it's maybe mid to high 70s where you walk around. Much colder than that, people complain it's too cold. So, and the dual purpose of that is if you got a swim meet or you got lessons, you got something party going on, you can use that as a spectator area. People are up there and they're looking down the pool, participating, they can hear things going on, they can talk to people. Closest one that's got something like that, the Skagit YMCA in Mount Vernon's got one of those around their gym, elevated walking track, and Anacortes has a second level above the pool. That's where the spectating is looking down on it. So if you walk in the Anacortes Aquatic Center, you can see that. What else, Karen?
On that topic,
Anything else?
nothing there. The next item is grant applications and project funding. You go
Grant.
over the memo part of it and then you can fill in. Does that sound? okay?
Yeah, okay. Okay, so any questions on that before we do the grant thing? So the grant, so the final RCO funding meeting to decide and announce the grants is on June 23rd and 24th.
27.
27th through 28th.
27th, 28th, sorry. So 4 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now. We've been pre-notified that what they call it is the funding range, meaning you're above their waterline cutoff. So we've found out that we applied for pickleball grants for 225,000 each from the Youth Athletic Fund and the WWRP Local Parks Fund. And we look like we're going to get the Youth Athletic Fund 225, and we are first alternate for the local parks. And we've been informed that it is highly likely we're going to get both.
And I'm sure that's pickleball.
Pickleball.
Yes.
So pickleball is the one that's clean. So what that would mean is on June, they would make this announcement. And then we would have, we have to do a bunch of initial paperwork to register us for register us to receive those funds. But then that, that turns on the switch, the same switch that happened with the campground. I emailed you the grant thing about an hour ago. Can you pull it up just to calibrate us?
And one
One grant is meant to be kind of the
Yeah,
match for.
yeah, so that, sorry, didn't explain that. So the 225 from one is a match for the 225 for the other. So we don't have to, we don't have to put in. So you have to put in 10% of the project funds yourself. And the pickleball group committed to 52,000 in pledged money. So the pickleball 52 goes with our 225, and the whole project we said was 502,000. All in. So this is what we submitted. Keep going, we'll go to get to where the actual picture is. There we go. So this is where that part that Tom was talking about, sloping this way. This is from the road that comes from the upper part that goes right through here. So you can see it was, what we forecast was this T-shaped kind of plaza bricked in area with benches and tables for people to sit, wait for games, between games. 3 courts and a backstop, warm-up backstop, and 3 more courts on this side. There's the storage shed, so equipment shed. I think we decided to put a small tractor in there, like for sweeping the courts or whatever. These are all fences that can be lifted. Obviously the main pickleball ones, but these intermediate fences can be lifted to do some other programming in there. Whatever, to play a futsal game in there because we want to do a tournament or something like that. So this is designed that you have 2 multi-purpose courts, obviously knowing that they're going to be pickleball use the vast majority of the time. Keep going, I think maybe we got another.
I'm sorry, go back to that storage shed. So where are the nets and those removable walls stored?
Size for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so go down, there's a bigger picture I did not, or maybe go back up on one, the actual place. Yeah, so here, there it is, yeah. Jack, parking lot. Okay, now go back up. Yeah, you can see it better in this next one. Yeah, so this, I'll send you the dimensions, the actual dimensions, but that was sized to hold the pickleball nets, and I think these were designed to go on the far side on this plaza area. I mean, there's benches in all these locations and this is like crush rock kind of thing. At least that was the vision of it.
So are we gonna get construction documents to send this thing out to bid? What's the design process?
Yeah, so the company that, I don't remember, it was you and Doug talking to them together, I was talking to them, talking to the guys. Well, Doug talked to the guys who did, or it's Squim.
Okay.
So Squim had an 8-court, and I'm sure I've got an email, the memo or the bids that they wrote. So what those guys did is they took this and they converted it into their cost, and that's where the 50, or I think they had 487 or something like that. That's where their estimate came from. So I think it was, I don't know if he got 2, I think he just got the guys who did Squim. Either Carrie, you could find the email, or I'll find his email, but they had scrubbed this and then they give their own cost estimate. Okay, keep going, I think. Yeah, so here's a little bit more of a picture of that, kind of what that looks like. You can see the one that hitting wall, that was a piece of feedback from Squim that they didn't have one, and it's a complaint that they needed one. Yeah, and again, this concept was done, we gave it to Barry Howard, the pickleball guys, and then they scrubbed it. And part of this, like, this design came from that conversation with them, like, give us a place to sit, we can spread out, because, a lot of social activity.
Concrete blocks, or is that like
It's like
rubber?
bricks. Yeah, it's bricks, and maybe it's a way that the donors, the individual donors,
Okay.
their names could be present, in certain key areas or whatever, you know, because there's 50,000, 52,000 in pledge money, which is not a small amount of money, right? So I think we work with the pickleball guys to recognize how we want to do that, you know, maybe there's a couple tiers, gold, silver, and bronze. And, yeah, so something like that with pavers that matches the kind of look and feel of the park. And
My recommendation, as someone who just cleaned up the pickleball court and is dealing with maintenance issues on my own, is to definitely have Tom in this in terms of maintenance, because when I look at it and I
The
look at
rates are gonna suck, they're gonna.
I just know that it's not as easy as power washing, you know what I mean? Certain things, like you mentioned gravel around the outside, court situation, it's about the worst thing, you know, gravel would spit out.
Yeah.
And as I look at that wall, I think to myself, you know, okay, it looks good new when it's in there, but then the monsoons hit, and all I'm saying is, I love the design, is just be conscious of the maintenance part of that, because it's not easy when you start closing it, in terms of, you know, scrubbing it down, keeping it clean.
yeah, the other thing that we, and good, great points, the other thing that we, I think, I'm pretty sure the swim guys included in their bid was the pre-establishing, you know, or at least doing the infrastructure for lighting as a future, you know, grant request. The pickleball club knew we weren't gonna, the lighting added another couple $100,000 at a minimum. So we're gonna do it in this cycle, but in this bid, we'll ask them to do the infrastructure, put the wiring in the ground.
It's great.
You know, we don't have the light towers, but at least we built places for them, there's room for the stanchions and whatever. So lighting is a future consideration, but it'll need to be part of this thing.
Where does the light pollution analysis come into that, and who's the
Yeah.
powers that be that say yay or nay, you can have lighting at some point to determine whether or not?
Yeah, I'm sure that's a county
Structure.
permit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, as part of our grant application, we had to, in fact, I think it came from the SWIM guys. We had to put in a light pollution paragraph in the grant thing. So I think Doug wrote that, it's in there, but I would have to go back on it.
Well, much like the artificial field too, you talked about solar lighting. So it may be, you know, as we move down the road, that option of having, I think you're still gonna want electricity there anyway, for multiple reasons, for multiple uses. But I think solar lighting is gonna be the way of the future for all courts.
Yeah. Okay,
Cool.
I think that's it.
We already have this, right?
That's awesome. That's cool.
From when you went and presented the grants and all that, wasn't this already circulated?
It's possible. Yeah, we did, I think. I'm pretty sure we did. And just to recalibrate. There's been, the last thing I'll say is the foundation in their capital campaign, they've hired a consultant, it's Julie Bianchi, formerly Julie Gabeline. She's worked off island, she did WAVE, she's done a number of capital campaigns on the island and a number of bigger ones off the island. And my experience so far, there's absolutely fantastic, professional, knowledgeable experience. So they're going to set up for success. The other thing, though, that in their interviews with potential donors, they had several potential donors say, "What about pickleball?" So, you know, the response is there's a plan. It's not in this phase, but a plan for indoor capability. Until that happens, we have the indoor agreement with the school on the program, and we're successful in building this outdoor facility that's going to be world class. And so, you know, it's all part of the, you know, it shows that we have a focus on this, even though it's relatively new, based on feedback from the public. So that, just to know that they've had a couple of big potential donors say, we like pickleball too.
And across the board, that long-term planning, that's gonna draw voters who maybe aren't swimmers. You know, but if they look at that and they know there's a possibility of gymnasium activities down the road, that may sway their vote towards the pool even more so.
Well, and one of the things I told, you know, the capital campaign was talking about this after the ribbon cutting. But one of the things that they're also willing, or not willing to, they're also planning for is if somebody says, I want to support, construction capital. And one of the targets might be the gymnasium, right? We're talking rough estimate is 7.5 million. So maybe someone comes along and says, I'm willing to put up half of that. And then we can go to the state with a grant request for development, saying we have half in capital, private capital committed. So I think like that's one where we might be able to jumpstart the gymnasium part, is if that private capital comes along and says, I want to pay for pickleball if you guys are really building this thing.
I can't see, is the gymnasium still a part of this level of
All of
design?
Yep.
I think we need to be clear that that's not what we're selling right now.
Yes.
And if we're not, I mean, I am of course still advocating for that being a part of now, but I think we don't want to.
Yes, no, you're exactly
Yeah,
right.
so it's a two-sided coin. I've been saying all along that last time the pool failure, part of that was people thought it was too spendy, it was too dreamy. We already have these kind of facilities, and that was one of the big arguments. So we walked that fine line of saying, this is a future plan, but you're not spending tax dollars on it right now.
But I think
I think we need to be clear about that.
yeah, well, I think your point, well,
That's not what we're doing.
like we take a little yellow future phase sticker and we put it on that. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, you're right, because you're absolutely right. I hadn't even thought of that. When people come looking at this, they're gonna go, well, there's the plan. Yeah, that's gonna be the.
We get all this for 27, really?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a bargain at 27.
Okay, I think that, so that was pickleball. So that's the good news story. The other news story is the other ones. Amphitheater, so the amphitheater ended up in only one grant program, the local parks, and currently they show it not, what they call not in the funding range. But it's one of those where in this roll down, what they do is they roll down to the line. And if there are people who say, I can't do the project, I don't have the matching money, I can't, whatever, it falls through, then they just drop the line. And so we had to certify that we had the matching money for this if they were gonna, and if they reached the point that they could grant us money, we have to have a matching certification form saying we can come up with the other half. In this case, it's 250, is that right?
215?
215. So we said it was a $430,000 project. We only have one grant, the other grant application was unsuccessful. So if this one came through, we would need to come up with $215,000. And what we need to do, we got them to give us a waiver. The grant, that matching certification had to be turned in by May 19th. Before this meeting, we got to give us a waiver to Friday, in order to submit a match. So we would have to decide that we think that that's enough of a priority that we want to carve out $215,000 from the back half of this year's budget. What that would involve would be the capital budget that Tom was working on. That's roughly $100K, that would go to zero, likely. And then we would have to come up with another $100,000 from 10% of this, 5% of this, 7% of this, 5% of that. My recommendation as treasurer is that we have other higher priorities, like those capital projects, like this potential property acquisition that has time sensitivity, and that our efforts and our funds in the second half of this year have higher priority targets than matching that grant. But that's the item for discussion here. If we want to do that, then we would sit down and work through with the staff the budget changes that would be required to match that, and we would submit a certification form on Friday with a motion from us saying, yes, we will match this with district cash and staff time, equipment time, and other things that can be credited to that 215,000. So that's the amphitheater story. Before we go to the other one, we should talk about whether we think that's a priority for the second half of this year or not.
Yeah, one more small piece of information. So I reached out to John Mark And just to say, we have to state that we still have those funds available, the 15,000 from the Rotary. And I explained, you know, what we were doing, and his only response was, our club's board will meet next week on Tuesday. I will inform you of its decision regarding the 15,000 following the meeting. So I was asking, is this still in at this point? And he didn't reply really yet.
Tuesday last week or Tuesday next week?
It would be next Tuesday.
Which is past.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that would be, if we decide we aren't gonna do this, then we, you know, he came to the last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, he emailed all of us. I would suggest we respond to him and say, this is our decision, thank you. If we're not gonna use those funds, thank you for your patience, you know, et cetera.
Yep.
And if we are gonna use them, then we say we're gonna need every penny, and thank you. Please.
So I thank you for laying all of that out. Thank you for making your recommendation as the treasurer, and I don't know that there's a lot of discussion to be had. I mean, I think we all have talked about it off and on, that it needs to be deferred, right? Even though it is part of the comp plan, it needs to wait.
Yeah, I support that, defer.
I would like to see us go forward with our capital projects. And although I'm grateful for the support from the Rotary, but knowing that they're gonna take that 15,000 and invest it in our community in another way, you know, it's still being invested in our community, and that's what's most important.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tremendous organization. I don't have any doubt that another project they choose won't be
And
well deserving and will benefit, right?
and we keep it, you know, we're gonna be looking at the comp plan, and we will be talking about the amphitheater again.
Okay, so we will decline, we'll indicate that we are not gonna match. And do you want to respond to Rotary, or do you want us to do the response to it?
Oh, no, it's mine and Jake's committee, isn't it?
Okay,
Yeah, maybe if you wanted to do that before their meeting on Tuesday, that way they know it's dead in the water sort of right now. Too bad it's, you know, right in the bond.
okay. So the last one is the turf field. So we are funded for the youth athletic facilities grant, which is the smaller one, the 350,000. The local parks one, we're not in the funding range. And this is one, the turf field was more complicated because of the size of the project. We had said we were going to get, the two parts were the Ripken Foundation and state capital grant. And so, if you remember the sequence of the Ripken Foundation will fund community fields just like this. It's a combination soccer and baseball turfing project. And they will come in, once you have half of the money, they take on your project and they fund the rest. And they run the project, they do the project management, they do everything.
Oh.
But you gotta have the front half. So the hope was we would get this grant and then the remaining $1.2 million to get to the halfway point, and then we would bring that to Ripken. Because we don't have, this other one is not funded, you know, it looks like we would miss this. However, another grant has come along since then called the COAF grant, Community Something Athletic Fields. It's 36 million that the state has allocated, and it's the money that was left over when Quest Field, or what's it called now? T-Mobile Park was built. Can't remember if it was T-Mobile or Quest. It's either the Mariners or the Seahawks gave the state an extra, we had excess of $36 million. And that's now being distributed to build athletic fields this year. And it's divided the state up into regions, and our region, which is like North Sound, has got like a $6.5 million allocation. So Eric and I made the told, and RCO is administering this money, and we made it known 3 months ago when it was announced that we, the district, are intending to make an application for this project for the full amount. And so they acknowledge that, and they have been trying to figure out, because it's out of cycle, it's not in the normal RCO every 2 years thing, how are they going to administer it? Are they going to pull together a committee, like a review committee out of the blue, because there are no review committees because it's not the normal cycle? What are the criteria going to be? What's the application form? My guess is it's going to end up like local parks or YF, one of those, because it's RCO, and why change it? So we are still waiting on that to be promulgated so we can apply. So in this case, we asked the state, or asked RCO, give us an extension until July, which should give them enough time to come out with this program so we would know if there's a chance that we're going to get it and what the timeline is. So they denied that request. So we're off the grid for this program for the moment.
For the 350.
For the 350. Yeah, we're off the grid for the 350 for good. But what we plan to do is apply to the co-op program when it comes out for the full total, the 3.2 million. And with the hope that if we can get half, if they say, yeah, great, you're selected, but it's only 6 million for the whole North Sound, you get half of it, then we turn around, we take that to the Ripken Foundation and say, we got half of it. And they have not funded a project in the Northwest in a while. And so I think we got a decent chance. We reached out to them and they said, yep, we'll take your application. You just tell us your funding plan. So they know about our project. So it's not a great story here because we got one of the 2 grants, but I think the fact that we did get this, even though it drops, means that when we go for this co-op grant, they know about our project, right? The people who reviewed it are going to be a similar group of people, maybe even the same people, maybe they reconstitute the group. So anyway,
And we build into that presentation that we'd already won on another one and.
We took that one. We took the pickleball thing that's going because, you get credit for other things that are going on in the same place where you're putting a facility. Like if it's going into a cornfield and there's nothing around, you get 1 point. If there's pickleball courts and there's baseball fields and soccer fields, you get 4 points, So, yeah, so this one more to come. And so we've got to, Eric, figure out a way to communicate with the soccer club and just kind of give them a snapshot of where we stand. And we still need their support. I mean, they know that we're applying for this co-op grant, so.
Is that other interviews as well?
Yeah.
So ultimately, I can take on some of that.
Yeah, like I say, just for me, most important, the soccer club guys, and they are the ones that helped do the layout and, worked on the grant. They gave us the numbers for the grant. They raised $30,000 in pledges. So anyway, so that's the snapshot on the turf field. That's it, if there's no questions.
All right, are we moving on to the bond election resolution?
Sure.
Sure.
You gotta pull this up.
Do you need some water? You guys talking a
Yeah.
lot.
I was just gonna say, nice job, man. I mean,
Good.
kudos to you and how much work you put into all this. It's just,
Well, we get a pickleball complex out of it, that'd be pretty cool. So on the bond, as of the last meeting, we had voted to put this on the November ballot or 2 meetings ago. Since that, the school put the capital bond on the budget and it failed by 127 votes out of 7,000. So the conversation at the committee level has been about when do we anticipate that the school is going to put that measure back on the ballot in the future, and if so, when? And based on when, does that mean we should potentially move our target for this fund? So the thought has been, if the school ended up on the November ballot, that it would be to our advantage to slide to a later ballot with our fund. And the next ballot after November is February, which is generally known as a bad ballot window. It's the school districts around Washington State use the February ballot, but it's, it's a tough time of year, it's dark and cold, and people aren't thinking about, public projects as much perhaps. The next ballot after that's April, it's the one that the school went on this time around, third week in April. And then the next one after that is August. The following one is November, which is the general election, which is a presidential election, where turnout's big and generally public measures are not gone on presidential cycle, general election ballots. The challenge after that for the full calendar year of 2025 is that every special election, you need to meet minimum participation requirements in order for the measure, even if you pass it, to be validated. And the minimum participation requirement is 40% of the turnout at the most recent general election. So our turnout requirements for the school special election in April were more than easily met because it's coming from a non-presidential November. After the presidential November, it is likely that there would be difficulty meeting those minimum participation requirements for February, April, August and November of 2025. So it just means that if we decided to move from November, the February, April, and August are the window until, more than a year later. So again, with all that said, we've been trying to figure out if there's any information from the school district on their plan.
And there is.
Do we know?
It's not official, but it's more than likely it's gonna be November, and that's talking to the head, so.
So
They have to go through the approval for.
right. So and that was the anticipation.
And that's, I expect.
So so the discussion is, do we as a board think that merits us moving our target? The trade-off in moving a couple within the committee, and the committee reached out to Jim Nelson, DA Davidson, for his feedback. As you slide, you just tighten that window, right? And the ability to come back to a subsequent ballot, if you needed to come back to a subsequent ballot, it's getting more difficult, obviously. The trade-off of being side by side on the same ballot is potentially splitting the electorate. People saying, well, it's a choice, one or the other thing, and then potentially diluting the vote support for both of them at the same time.
And not pass.
You're right. That's, obviously that's a more difficult scenario. So anyway, go ahead.
Is the school gonna go for 80 again, or are they looking
More than
at?
likely. It makes sense to do it, get some margin.
It was so close.
Yeah, the general feedback from DA Davidson was that when they've seen similar measures with very close misses, that the measure has generally been unchanged and the education has been, strengthened. So the anticipation is there'll be the voter education period for the April bond was very short.
Mhm.
That there will be more information put out leading up to November.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Jim he was like 50-50, whether you run it at the same time or don't run it, there's no actual evidence that one is better than the other.
Yeah,
You couldn't give a definitive.
He argued for both. He said you could make a valid argument for both. We put it out to the committee and to the foundation. There was feeling that I thought some support for April, And the benefit, besides, I mean, the downside obviously is that you're sliding it. The upside is that you'll have more materials like this that are more developed, because we'll have gone through the 2 design phases. You know, the schematic design phase that gets to a real building and real drawings, I mean, not real drawings, but a real building, and real floor layout comes by September. So, you know, between September and the November ballot, like, we're gonna have to be using these things and saying, this is what it's generally gonna be, kind of like this, and mostly like this, and you're making the most of that. If it's April, the education is happening in, you know, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, with more complete materials, potentially more, you know, commitments from private capital. You have another round of state funding that can be advertised. So there are some, from a voter education standpoint, some potential benefits for having.
And if we looked at sliding to April, just thinking out loud, I don't see any reason to not proceed with open houses that we already have scheduled
Right.
to further home.
Keep the schedule.
Well, and there's, and to clarify, I said there were 2 meetings forecast for the design team to come in, take feedback, answer questions. We also said,
Yeah.
Eric and I and us would do 3 other voter education just on the bond measure, factual information, you know, that we're allowed to do, putting out this is how much, this is what you're gonna get, this is the tax impact. So there's scheduled a total of 5, 2 with the architect,
And 3
give and
with
take, and
the
3
foundation
with
and us.
commissioners. You know, that was planned for July, August, September kind of thing, leading up to November. So yeah, I think all of those we would go.
And I'm pro April for multiple reasons. One, the school district, you know, you're not gonna have a controversial potential adversary on the ballot. If our relationship with the school district is closer, I would say just the opposite of that, which would be, it can be very supportive in nature, because you're serving the best interests of kids and the public, on and on. However, because it's not really that way right now, I think it's better to run on its own. I also, Jim alluded to this a little bit, but April is kind of a renewal time, you know, like Matt said, February, you know. I like the idea of full bond in April.
Well, especially when it's already on the community's mind of getting back in the water, and I get to
Exactly.
go stand in line to
That's
register
exactly.
my kids and.
But our Aprils tend to be a little bit wet, you know, and on the same token, you've got this vision of lakes, of water. I just think it's a great time, outside of the.
But they're saying it's like, it's April, I really wanna go swimming. If
Yep.
we had an indoor pool, I could. Rather than waiting for the list.
For those reasons, I think April's a better choice personally. If
But-
dynamics are different, I would say.
And if we did in April, and if it didn't pass, or if it was super close, we'd still be able to try again in August.
So yeah, your timeline for August is, this year, it was May, what was last Friday? What was the day last Friday?
Sorry,
Well,
something
May
about-
12th.
Yes.
So it's roughly May 12th. So, you know, the election results would be available April 25th. You would have one meeting, it would be a special setting if you said we want to turn around, because otherwise November doesn't work.
So one thing we do need to keep in mind is that our costs are going to be higher, because we won't know who else is going to be on those ballots to share the
Yeah,
costs
likely if
of
this-
production.
Well, the other piece of that discussion is related to that, and going in April instead of February, the school district, if they were to not pass that bond, would more likely go February for a third running, which would mean we'd be in the same spot again. All the more reason I think for April.
Right, but the trade-off though, we'd be going from about where we're on the school, where they would split the cost in half of this, it'd be 18,000 instead of 36. So in April, what we do by ourselves.
Right.
And it would be.
And I'm not advocating for November, please don't misunderstand me, I just wanted to put that back into our heads, that
Oh, sure.
It's gonna be more expensive.
Yeah, just one thought, you know, as we're thinking about budgeting, is then we have to decide whether we're budgeting for one election cost or two. Because, and I'm not advocating for November, but if it were in November, we would know and could adjust our budget quickly for the next year versus us having to decide as we're budgeting now to budget for potential bomb failure.
Just a, but if that's what we need to do, we can do that.
Yeah, so what I would suggest, since we have made a motion to put it on the November ballot, that if we want to move it to target a different ballot, we would make another motion to say we want to adjust our plan and target the, you know, the April 2024 special election ballot.
Yeah, I've talked to a few people since the school failed and talking about, you know, so we're looking at November and these both are on there. How would you vote? How do you think your peer group would vote? How? And there's always going to be a group that isn't going to vote for the schools because they're going to say, I don't have kids or my kids are grown. I mean, they're just short-sighted that way, right? You have the people who are always going to vote for schools because they have to take care of us and our you need to be educated. There's the people that want the pool, but there's a whole lot of people who are going to be like, I can't afford both at once.
You mean being on the same ballot because
Yeah.
it's big, yeah.
It's a
That
big
came up in
number.
our discussions as well, I agree. It's a lot, it's a sticker shock
Mhm.
as opposed to having one.
One,
Yep.
and then,
Yep, I'm in total agreement.
Well, and to the potential, like just processing information, like I read the school, the thing that they sent and the voter guide that came with the ballot. And like just getting my mind around like what I was trying to say and then the pro and con statements and like if I was trying to consume both two of those at the same time, even if they're both valid, it might just make my head explode. So.
Yeah, you tend to, when you're in that place, you tend to go to the negative, meaning.
yeah, I don't have time to think about it, I don't have time to
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
I'm either not going to choose or I'm going to choose no. And as
Exactly.
we all know, not choosing is.
Yeah, and I'd say the other reason why it's important to make some formal decision now is that the voter education campaign on the bond is starting with the foundation committee. And the most immediate visible element of that is they're going to be at the farmer's market. Starting on June 6th, I think is the first day. So there's going to be a table at every Saturday market.
So they want to have their materials correct in their education.
Just when someone comes up, says, when is this thing going? They need to know when, and this is, you know, here's the plan and the logic. So make it a clear decision motion this meeting and then communicating that to the committee. And we already pre-addressed it. They are obviously aware of what happened at the school. They have their own, you know, they know more about it in many cases than we do. So, because a lot of them are engaged with that school effort as well. So anyway, I think the urgency is based on the word is going out. We want to make sure it's clear.
Okay, so, we need a new motion to revise our past.
Would you like me to read the last one?
That would be
Yeah.
lovely, thank you, ma'am.
Krista made a motion to begin the campaign of voter information and education in support of the proposed aquatic facility on the November 23 ballot, and it was unanimous. And then separately, Eric made a motion to establish for ARC architects a maximum total construction cost not to exceed 27 million. And it was, so those were two separate.
So it's the first one.
The first one, so it's the
Well, you have it. I mean, you combine them here.
motion to begin.
Here it is combined, but the word special election in November was an error. because it's, November is a general election, all the other ones are special.
Oh.
So it would be a special election held on April, we know the date, hang on, oh, my computer died. Can you look at the date real quick? Allen County, I think it's April 23rd. And then, election calendar, special election 24, yeah.
Good luck with this, because all of their links right now are broken.
Yeah.
You can do the state. Statement. Dates and deadlines.
It's the troubles with the parcel here, which was working then.
Yeah, keep going. The,
Primary general election.
is there a
These are all,
2020? Yeah,
April,
no, there's,
special election, online.
yeah, there's a 2024 version of this. Yeah, keep just scroll to April 2024. Yeah. Let it populate. Come on.
That's 2023.
There's 2024.
Yeah.
It's in the, D.A. Davidson's presentation that we showed at the March meeting. That PowerPoint has it on
April
slide 7.
Yeah. So,
That's 2023.
I know, but we should be able to look at the same.
To figure it out, you mean?
We need to go about like
Yeah.
dueling.
or, when was the school?
Hold on.
School bond?
That right there,
That was that one?
April 25th. Yeah, it's the same week.
So it's like 4 to Tuesday?
It's the same week, yeah, pick the Tuesday in that same week.
Probably 20.
So it'll be the 23rd.
Yeah, I thought it was the 23rd. Yeah.
23rd.
So that would put that special election date, April 23, 2024.
Can we just say April, since we're not making.
Sure.
Because I assume the resolution will be postponed until later.
Yeah, we want to pull it up though. So yeah,
Revise.
so let's do this resolution first, and then we'll pull up the one from Pacifica.
So first, we need a motion to begin the campaign of,
Yeah, do you want to just go stand over her shoulder, so just keep her over there so you could. Read it out. What did you say it's to?
Well, since they already began the campaign, maybe you just say something like modify.
So
Revise.
I will make a motion to revise the campaign of voter information and education in support of the proposed aquatic facility, which will now be on the April 2024 ballot.
I second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded to revise the campaign of voter education, voter information and education timeline.
Or perhaps, what was it?
Was that word in there?
No.
It has been moved and seconded to revise the campaign of voter information and education in support of the proposed aquatic facility, which will be on the April 2024 ballot. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes.
Okay, so now can you pull up the actual text of the measure? I just want to show this. So one of the things that the D.A. Davidson has done for us is to coordinate the schedule for this and the actual factual information on our side. So we have the ability to create a website, and we've created the structure for it. and the content to say, here's the factual information on the bond. What the Pacifica folks for DA, who are connected with DA Davidson, have told us is it's best to have the resolution agreed before you publicize that information from a district standpoint. So we got them to draft the resolution, the whole thing, and it's like multiple pages. And so that's what we have. We gave them, we went through at least one revision. This is the latest one. Carrie? After the revision?
Is that the? I picked the latest one.
That's
The one you
dated
linked to on-
February.
I know, like, I got another one last minute, so,
It says draft.
okay, that's not the one. Okay, so can you go to our shared file?
And then, so the objective here, once we pull it up, is that we just go through it in enough detail to be able to go back to them and say, can we accept this language? And then let them make a smooth version of it with April as the target. And then we can, at the next meeting, sign it out. And that way we're done with that step. It's ready to go to the,
When you say sign it out, what do you mean? Are you saying they pass a resolution?
we would pass a resolution with this language, and then we would have it ready to go to the Allen County elections submittal on their timeline, which is 85 days before April 23rd.
There's one
So
that
that
says
one's 5 days
clean,
old.
like
What was
number
the one
20.
up above?
There you go, clean for editing.
Yeah, this one. What we tried to do, we tried to genericize basically what they gave us
You can go to
a specific detail, like they were detailing the plans to a degree that was gonna potentially restrict us in what we're gonna do, so we tried to just generalize it. Is this it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it starts with the actual text. The resolution text is like, there's a character limit to it, so this is about character limits, so that's what goes in the actual. And then going, so these are the sections. So some of this is boilerplate, but it's, when you read through it, it's relevant because it says what you can do with the money, what you can't do with the money. So keep going. So again, there's the text of the resolution. So we list our mission statement, says this is why we're doing it. And this is taken from our comp plan. It says, we did surveys to come up with this. And then it says that we're doing it on our own property.
Oh, so the one I printed out today is not the right one.
That's not the latest.
Keep scrolling. This scroll, so this is on the top. Right here. So to obtain the funds, we're gonna sell bonds with that limit, to Eric's point. And this just says that's within our constitutional right in the state to do that. And then we say here, this is important. So it says, a project shall be carried out at the time or times and in order deemed most necessary and advisable by the board. So it says, if it's voted for, then we take on the project and we plan it out.
And I just want to confirm that like 27, that's the final number that,
Based on where we are in the project right now, this phase of the project will get a sharper pencil applied to the cost estimate. But we've told them that that's.
Yeah, over and over again, reiterating,
Uh,
not beyond.
Okay, so then this one, capital improvements. So this says we're gonna design, develop, acquire, and construct it. This is the name, the official product recreation center. And then this says it's gonna be complete with everything. So we could pay interest, we could furnish it, those kind of things, not just the shell of the building. We determine the application of these monies to accomplish the project, so it's again in our hands to decide what to do and how to spend it. And the extent specifications, that means we approve the specs. Going right here. This says, yeah, this says,
We could pay, right, how we.
yeah, if something changes, then we can close it out and they're here. After holding a public hearing and adopting a resolution to do something different, that's what we need to do in order to do something different other than, you know, if something changed and we weren't gonna do the project, we wouldn't be able to do anything else with that money without going back to the public. This is the language on the bonds themselves, how we issue the bonds, and the fact that we can pay costs associated with issuing the bonds from the bonds. This is boilerplate on Constitution. Here we go. Here's what it says, what it can pay for. So acquisition, leasing, acquiring, engineering, design, demolition, site prep, all the planning, engineering, financial, legal, and the incidental costs associated with the bonds themselves. Here's where it says you can't use it to maintain and operate the facility. And then here's the interest terms. These are general obligation. This is boilerplate.
Pay out of annual tax loans.
Yeah, here it is. Hang on, go back up here. Short-term obligation, no, that's, keep going. Oh, here it is. So there's the special election, even though that's correct. So that's what we need to get changed. And then the rest of it is the actual text. Scroll down. Yeah, so there's
That's what would show up.
that's on the ballot. It's like 85 characters or something like that. Not more than that, but. So that's it. So again, this was developed, generated by Pacifica by the law. And.
Just like they did for the Waterman acquisition.
Yes. Yes. Keep going down here, section 6. Oh yeah, this is the contact, this, Deanna Gregory is the council. And these are all boilerplate, severability, general authorization, there's the effective date. And so that's where we would sign, this is where we would sign. So
So when do we need to do this?
well, again, what they are telling us is before we advertise, before we publicize information on the project on the district's website and on, like we had drafted a mailer, you know, the
Right,
thing that
right.
I'm sure you got from the school, the factual information that says if you have a $500,000 assessment, it's
The one that you and I looked at. that's
$7
right
one.
here.
Yep. So they said, don't send that out, don't post it on the website, tell you guys to approve the language of it. So what I would propose is is that shared out in the packet?
The voter information.
This one, no, this one is not, because the one I have is old.
No,
It's fine.
we got it after that.
Yeah, so I would say, let's review that and let's put it on for approval at the next meeting.
But
With
doesn't that
revisions.
put the foundation in a pickle, or they can talk about it?
No, they can talk about it.
Because we've already just.
Yeah, they're fine. It's for us putting out factual information.
Okay.
That we are allowed to put out.
Yeah, and I feel like that's more about the like voter election information. But I think we could still on that website be putting information about the pool project that is happening.
Yeah, so we'll.
You know, the
so
design
let's-
is happening.
Let's clarify that. You and I clarify that
Yeah.
with Pacifica.
Because all that is a reporting on what is actually happening.
Yeah, what can we do and what can't? Because anyway, so post this with the obvious change for the date that we can all take a look at, make sure we're comfortable with all the wherefores and howfores and whereases in there. And we'll get a clean copy from Pacifica and then. Okay.
Okay. We had a placeholder for discussion and possible action on the ED search. And there's so we'll move on. Comprehensive plan update, level of service discussion.
Why don't we table that?
I think that is an excellent idea. I already confessed prior to the meeting that I did not do that homework. Did anyone do that homework? Okay, well, there we go. That's easy to table. Would you please carry that forward to our next meeting?
Could it be reminded what our homework specifically is and how we can be prepared to really tackle that at the next meeting?
What's that?
The memo will still be on the website on the board members' website, and it has the links to the documents there still.
What are you talking about?
The comprehensive plan update is we're supposed to be making our way through the comprehensive plan section each month. And so this was supposed to be our homework. And as Carrie just said, if we go back to the portal, we can download this planning.
Yeah, what did you send out? You sent out just the spreadsheet that
Can you pull up the board members' webpage?
did you put that in the spreadsheet that I made or no?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, let's keep going down.
No, go back up.
Sorry, go up to comprehensive plan update. Right there. Yeah, so, okay, so that's the old one, so go back.
Next one below it. Levels of service defined.
Okay,
That's super helpful.
so this is the NRPA one. Okay, go back. Pretty sure I updated it. That is,
Yeah, so I made a spreadsheet to put this all together,
okay, try this one.
but it doesn't look like it
When we're
made.
gonna look at what.
There was no spreadsheet. This was on there twice.
Okay, yeah.
There was no spreadsheet.
No, that's okay. So,
And then the RCO planning requirements should be the
yeah,
manual too.
so I put all those together in this single spreadsheet on level of service. So that's the thing that's easiest to review, and then these can be reference documents. Because it's just easier to review it that way. So do you have the spreadsheet in email?
I have it. Have it.
I just wanted to show you what it looks
Yeah.
like,
Okay, let me see where it is.
and then you can take the time and go through it.
Well, I guess that's my question. Are we going through the whole comprehensive plan? Are we going?
No.
through
So these are, we're going through a section every month.
That's what I thought. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
What do we need by next?
This, the plan for this month is to do training and education on what is the level of service, because that's the base of the entire plan. It's just one section of it. So these are the reference documents that you do have the links to, but I made a spreadsheet to pull it all in one place. The actual criteria from the state RCO with the data from the national NRPA. That's what it is. It's take the standards from NRPA, which say for community less than 20,000, you need 3 tennis courts and 1 swimming pool and 10 miles of parks per resident and trails per resident, these many acres of parks per resident. And you layer it on top of the state's shell, and then you get the level of service. So that shell I put into an Excel sheet, but it didn't make it.
I can,
Looks like.
just send it to you, Sky.
Oh, you got it.
There's what it looks like.
Okay, so just show you what it looks like. We're not gonna
New
go through it.
versus old.
I'm not gonna go through it. Scroll back up to the very top. So what's here is the state criteria. And what's in here is the map from the national reference. So if you look right there, it says system capacity for basketball is 300 games per practice. The demand for our population is 400 games per practice. So we need 75% of the demand, and the scale says 75% is a B. And so in the comp plan, and you can see, these are just made up. Everything in yellow is just placeholder numbers from the last comp plan or just made up. But this is, and each one of these has a different scale, and the math is in the spreadsheet. What's a B, what's an A, what's a C, what's a D? And you have to do a capacity analysis for every sport or activity that your population wants. And that's what's in here. So this first block is the capacity analysis for us, for things that we support. So we don't have cricket, we don't have lacrosse, we don't have, but we do have soccer, baseball, softball, swimming. So this we need to fill in with what we really think from programs from the data sky programs, and then we fill in what we have as capacity from our own facilities, and then do the math. And then when you reference in the comp plan that you want to do a swimming pool, it's because we're level E, which is at the bottom of the scale. We want to make it better. So that's the first part is capacity. Keep going. Keep going. The second part is quality. So you have to say, we got X number of facilities, how many of them are good, safe, they do what they're supposed to do, they're in good material condition. You got to do your own analysis and you give yourself a grade. Keep going. The next one is distribution and access. Go back up, right there. It says, how close are your parks to people? So here's the population. How many are within a half mile of a park, 5 miles of a trail, or 25 miles of a trail, 5 miles of a field, or what did I say? So you have to do the math, say, where do your people live and where are your parks? And then this is the number that can be accessed by other than car, foot, trail, public transportation. And so that's it. That's the whole LOS. And then this table at the bottom is where we do the math. And I just set it up as a shell to do the math to figure out, fill in those blanks. So I listed, this is all the park sites listed in the current comp plan. So community park, how many does that count as in the total count? Is it fully safe and functional? Can you get it there by public transportation? And then those add up into the, so this is the list of parks, and it's not current because there's other parks now that weren't around when we did this in 2017. So we need to go through this and say which ones we think are meet these criteria in order to tell us how well we're doing.
Yeah.
So that's what this is. This, what you see there, these worksheets, that the new state level of service is this working sheet. The old one from the last comp plan is that page. So you can look at the old one, see what it was. The new NRPA is, this is the map for, go to the top of this. Go left. Sorry, scroll all the way up. There we go. So this is what, so the NRPA standard tells you what you need for your population. The Washington State just gives you this qualities capacity thing. So this says number of parks, So the number of parks based on 20,000 residents, the NRPA standard says you should have one park for every 1,225 people. So we need to have 14 parks. It says we need to have 1 acre of parkland for every 167 residents. 2 acres of parkland. It says we should have 4 miles of trails for every 20,000 residents. So we should have 4 miles of trails to be an A. We should have And then this, so this column says percent of all parks that have, this says of all parks in the nation, 86% have basketball courts. And they're ranked in that order. So this is the most popular park feature. These are the most popular, that you have a park, that you have a trail. This is now a feature of a park. So 86, we'll go over that one real quick. So 86% of all parks have a basketball court, and it says you should have one court for every 3,729 people. So you should have 5 basketball courts.
Other than becoming very familiar with this, what specifically should we fill in? Or are we doing that together as an exercise?
Yeah, we're gonna do that together as an exercise.
Okay, so it's
So
really
this is your chance to just look and say, what,
understanding.
yeah, like, what does it say? It says 5 basketball courts, keep going, see what else it tells us. Here we go, baseball, youth baseball field, says we need 6. Multi-purpose rectangular fields, it says we need 5. Keep going.
Battery's going down my nose.
Okay. Softball fields, we need 3.
All right.
Yeah,
Alright,
so,
we got it.
and then you can see again, how many parks have this. So, you know, you get down to lacrosse, it's like 14%. Cricket, it's like 10%. So you can say, so the last thing we need to think about is in the comp plan, we list our park and we list all other parks in the district. County parks, city Langley parks, private parks, you know, Whitby Community Land Trust. So what the level of service says is you can do the analysis based on just what you have, or you can include other entities, and the one they specifically mentioned is the schools. So you could say, we need 6 basketball courts. We get 4 from the schools and we get 1 from ourselves, and so we give ourselves an A. Instead of just the 1 from ourselves, you give ourselves an E. So we will need to decide, especially now with the school relationship, do we include the schools, or do we say this has an asterisk and we need, even though it says we have 6 and we do have 6, we need to plan for having 1 because we only have 1 in our own. So anyway, so what you'll see in the notes in that spreadsheet is I put notes saying 1 with us, 2 with the school, 1 with the city of Langley. So I would go through that NRPA thing and just do what you think. Does it make sense? Because you can say, hey, we reviewed this and we don't think this applies to our community. We think, you know, our community has, you know, there's pickleball in there. And we think our community is more, you know, pickleball is more prevalent in our community based on our demographics. So it says we need 5, we think we really need 8. As long as you justify that and you write it in the comp plan, then when you do a grant request later, they don't say, well, you already got 5. So that's all. I would say just review that NRPA thing in that spreadsheet and just become familiar with it because we will need to update it. And the staff is going to have a big part in that. We're going to have some part in that.
So it's been uploaded to the website.
Okay, that's it. Sorry, thank you.
Okay.
And once again, I wonder if you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't make it onto the packet, so I looked at those on it. That's probably from lack of skill.
Okay,
I read this, it seems recent. I can't, it was actually,
I agree.
how low your limit was.
I agree too.
Yeah, it becomes a shell game around the triathlon.
Pardon?
Yeah.
It's a shell game around the triathlon when you have to.
Oh, I'm
purpose
sure,
things.
yeah, I was thinking about multiple ed, it's a very low number, and I think one of you said that, right, it hadn't been revised as long as you.
Yeah, okay. So are we moving on to criteria?
Yes, please.
Okay, I think we can cover this very quickly. So, for the reasons outlined there, the slowness of postal service, needing to pay bills more often by credit card, we're counting more situations in which credit cards is the only accepted method of payment. And our current limits have impeded our progress of purchasing items in a timely manner and inflation. For those reasons, we're requesting to increase our credit limits. Specifically, we would like to increase the master line of credit to $10,000 and authorize Carrie to administer the credit card program. Those are two separate motions.
I fully support.
Yes, absolutely. So, I will entertain a motion regarding the master line of credit increase. Is that language right there?
We're just doing master line.
Yeah, they're two separate ones.
All right, so I'll make a motion to increase the master line of credit from the existing 6,000 to a $10,000 credit.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded to increase the master line of credit from the existing $6,000 to $10,000. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, aye.
Matt, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes. I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to authorize Carrie Montfort to administer the credit card program.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded to authorize Carrie Montfort to administer the credit card program. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, aye.
Matt, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Video equipment for the conference room.
As you could tell this evening, as usual, it's really hard to view up on the bumpy wall and with various lighting conditions. And Matt and I were discussing the possibility of allocating some funds towards a screen to be mounted on the wall. The funds are available if we're having some savings with the director.
Yeah, we looked at a 65-inch screen, which is more than big enough, and it was $470. We need the wall mount, which is another probably $100, and we need to get permission from the county to do it on this wall. So I'd like us to move forward with this as quickly as possible. We can take it with us if we get in and out of this building.
Bingo. As long as we can take it with us.
It's served well as we go down the pool situation too, to have graphics that are presentable.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Multiple uses, not just meetings. Yeah, I'm complete support.
Yeah, so.
All
So
right,
maybe
so,
around number of $1,000, just.
yeah, I was just gonna say, we need a,
Yeah, why don't we say, so I'll make a motion to approve video equipment upgrades for the conference room in the value not to exceed $2,000 all in installed.
Yeah, you'll need sound bars and you'll also need
Yeah.
wiring of some pictures.
Could you say that again, Matt?
To purchase and install video equipment for the conference room not to exceed $2,000 installed.
purchase and install video equipment. How well you and I did.
You said not to exceed 2,000?
2,000.
It has been moved and seconded to purchase.
Did it get
You
seconded?
didn't say,
Oh, sorry.
I'll second the motion.
A little punchy. All right, it has been moved and seconded to purchase and install video equipment for the conference room not to exceed $2,000. All those in favor say aye.
Eric, aye.
Krista, aye.
Matt, aye.
Jennifer, aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion passes.
Just a general nod, are you guys okay if they say, yes, the county says, yes, you can install it, but you can't take it with you? Are you guys okay with still proceeding?
Yeah, I think we'll get more than enough use out of it.
Yeah. But-
We're not planning on
but-
going anywhere soon, right?
Technology will change.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly.
Off of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the idea of having, not just that, establish some 5.1 sound or 7.1 sound, that's also not going to be prohibitively expensive. Okay,
Okay, moving on to online meetings, live streaming, and meeting links.
Okay, so we've had some technical difficulties with particularly the live streaming. And so the challenges are shared screens only being viewable by those who have the link to be in the meeting, difficulties with live streaming, and an in-person meeting where one commissioner attended remotely and they were the only voice that was heard. And during the live stream and also the recording, I believe it was. So the solutions we were proposing is switching from live streaming to only uploading the recording after the meeting, which is done pretty much immediately, right?
Mhm.
And then this part's a little trickier, publishing the direct link for all in advance of the meeting. So basically on our meetings page, having this link be available. This could have the unintended consequences of disruption from the public, but would make our meetings more accessible.
That's the risk I'm willing to take.
I would say go with it until it becomes, I think somebody brought up the port having issues last time, and the school district had something like that as well. So I would say until it's an issue, go forward.
Well, you would have to relinquish control for someone to take over the display, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you can shut people down, right?
I can mute people or kick them out.
But you could chat.
I'm sure there's some settings in here where I can make it.
I-
Like the chat, they can send a chat, but
Like if they said visible, like you could select chat just the organizer, or chat to the, everyone.
everyone, yeah.
If you
Or
said chat to
completely
everyone.
disable chat, right?
Well, and say you did that and you put some, something inappropriate in that chat, it would be visible. Unless there is a switch we can turn it off.
That happened in the school district.
Yeah,
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you can kill it. Yep, you just disabled chat.
okay. Again, we want feedback, so somebody can raise their hand. I guess hand raising is the way you voice in, right? So public comment period, if you
Yeah,
can't
so if you
chat.
turn the chat back on, what's your drop down option? Should just be able to be you. Yeah, organizer only.
Yeah, well, so maybe it's that you turn the chat function on during public comment, or maybe you just use hand raise during public comment to have someone signal in that they want to speak.
I guess they need to learn how to use GoToMeeting, don't they?
Yeah.
So that's it. But there's options. I mean, they have other options. They can be here in person. They can.
Right. They can email in advance and say, I will be attending online and I have public comment.
Does that require action?
You know what, I couldn't find anything, and maybe you guys remember, anything that was an official, this is how we're going to do these meetings and the online component. So I couldn't find anything, so I don't think we need to state what we're going to do. We can just,
I don't think the
website.
format is changing dramatically, it's
No.
changing the tool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more of a procedure, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys are okay.
Well, so do we have any written procedure?
Not that I can find.
Well, can we, at least in the minutes, state what the new procedure will be?
Mm-hmm.
How's that for a compromise
Okay.
between actually having a motion, but still communicating to the public, since the meeting minutes go public, how we're handling it.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Mr. Bush is still with
I
us
know,
or not.
yeah.
I see that he's there, but whether or not he's still
Still there, Joe?
participating,
I
so,
hope that
yeah.
he is
I
not.
just wanted to know that he's not.
Hey, John.
I'm still here.
Oh, hey, hats off to you. Wow, that is incredible, John.
You're not even in your jammies.
Wait a minute. Oh, folks.
All right.
Did you catch what our plan is regarding the online meetings and are your concerns assuaged? Yeah.
So to comment really usefully to you, it's not clear what the departure from the current plan would be. But what I would say is, in my experience at state level, there is the opportunity on query from commissioners to obtain input from people live viewing. And because the circumstances are so dynamic, I think that that is an option that has value if you wish to consider it. Because minutes are kind of more of a summary, I do think it's important to have the meetings available real time and recorded. Can I be more helpful? Are there more specific questions?
No, so I think, so the go-to meeting option is going to continue to be available. It will be publicized, so you won't have to request it specifically from the office. The recording will be uploaded to the YouTube channel immediately following the meeting. What we are going to eliminate is the YouTube live stream. It's just creating way too many intricacies and is actually hampering the public experience.
I think that's a wise decision. The reason I have emailed in for access to the GoToMeeting is the graphics on the YouTube channel are almost indecipherable. So I think that is a very good procedure going forward.
All right, thank you so much. All right, moving on to 2024 budget.
Okay, this was just a note, and moving forward with the budgeting process, staff would like to begin discussions regarding the budget in the June board meeting a little earlier than usual to discuss our big picture priorities and goals for the budget before staff do the work of crunching numbers. Items for the June budget discussion include updating the capital budget lines to plan for large equipment replacement, which is already a part of it, but I think we're going to expand that a little bit based on some feedback on financial policies. Increase our 5-year projection to a 6-year projection, which we already do for expenses.
We do it. We look forward to expenses, so we know what the beginning cash is in year 6. So that'll be straightforward.
Increasing staffing to be for recreation and admin and commissioner priorities, just where you guys want to see us go. So that's just, I'd like to discuss those things.
Now, and we can set a goal to put the 5-year projection in a 6-year shell before that.
Have it ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not obviously you want it done in department budgets, but we'll put the shelf in last year.
Yeah.
4:30 was a long time. Okay, office furnishings and computer equipment.
Okay, having spent time in Doug's office, I know that former Doug's office, there's a need to upgrade and replace some items for the incoming director. The desktop computer is fairly functional, but the laptop is in good condition and could be adapted to desktop use instead of replacing the entire computer. I would say that might be more of a decision once the director is in place.
It's a move fast.
Desk, the current one is not in good condition, and chair, the current one is broken. So purchase of these items would exceed our computer and office equipment budget lines, so the funds would need to be reallocated from elsewhere, likely the director's due to savings we got that director.
Okay.
And that's on the order of 15K, so more than enough to do.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this is just kind of something to keep in our heads and
Yeah, I mean, my
the
only
decisions
comment
could
is,
be.
I mean, we have, like, between Carrie's office and Sky's office, they're similar styles. And the one that's an oddball, much older and not a serviceable, is the one in the director's office. So, I mean, to me, if we just outfitted it like Carrie's office, Sky's, things that, like, I don't think there's a need to wait. I would rather do it and make that office ready for the director, because I mean, if the director comes in and says, I want a purple desk, I wouldn't want a purple desk in the office, like it's visible when someone comes in, it should look the same to me. Like people come in that can see in Gary's office, they can see in Sky's office, they can see in the director's office. They should all look similar.
So Doug had a different computer than what you guys
No
have.
desk.
No, I know, but you're talking computers.
No, he just had an older desktop. It's just slow, but he wasn't using it much at all. He got himself a new laptop last year.
Okay.
So
It's chair and a desk.
can we not just like give the new executive director the address to Habitat for Humanity and say, here you go? I guess not. That would be my solution, but
It gives him the choice.
give them,
Well, no, but I
But
would
you're
agree, I
saying
would agree with
no,
that. I want it to
No,
look
I
the same.
mean, when I say choice, I get the look the same part. What I mean is he might have a preference on operating, current technology that he's going to use.
Yeah,
I get
sure.
the desk, the
I wouldn't
chair.
say that. I was just saying for the desk and the chair, call the computer good for now because it's a new fast laptop.
Chair, I can say this about chairs. Chairs are incredibly expensive and depending upon people prefer a stand-up situation over a squatting situation. I would hate to spend $700 or $800 on a chair that's not going to be used.
Yeah, and I would kind of hate to commit someone to our desk setup.
I know,
mean, a
that's,
standing desk and, which has no
Drawers,
storage.
kind of.
I mean, it's what I want, but I don't know.
you're sitting in that sucker every day, and that's your personal, there is a personal preference
And
there.
I've got a weird chair to go with the treadmill,
Yeah.
Peggy, you understand it.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, most offices, the decisions are made when the offices are laid out and you get a chair and you get a desk and they all look the same. I think the fact that ours don't look the same just makes us look less professional than the rest of the front folks. Like the fields look better than our office space. So I would make them exactly the same.
Gorgeous.
I would make them look exactly the same.
I can tell you my office does not look exactly the same. I meet the needs of my staff. So there are stand-up desks, there are balls, there are stools, there are chairs with arms, there are chairs without arms, there are chairs for people with back issues.
yeah,
So
I think everybody has a different size and shape and has different issues, and someplace where they're gonna be spending a tremendous amount of time needs to be healthy for them.
yeah, but I'm with you.
Within
No
reason,
reason.
like, I would absolutely give a budget
Within
and a
reason.
limit, do you know what I mean, like that.
Yeah.
But I would say like within some parameters and a monetary budget, it should be people's choice.
Table, I mean,
Yeah.
we don't have a director.
We don't have a director, so I don't feel like this is super pressing.
Pressing.
Yeah.
An action item might be to, if equipment is broken, to have it removed. Perhaps, I don't know.
We're still using it sometimes.
Okay, if it's, I mean,
Yeah.
then just.
It's fine for my purposes. It just, I feel broken.
Okay, so.
We refurbish all our old ones, so there's teachers that have 3 different screens. Because you can, I mean, honestly, sometimes it's helpful.
Yeah. That's Sky's strong preference.
It's like flying first class. Once you go more than one screen. why
I
would you
can't
ever
go
go
back. I
Yeah.
can't. I am
You don't
too,
ever go back.
I am too spoiled.
Yeah.
No, I can't fly anything less than first class. But I did have 2 monitors, but then COVID.
So maybe I missed it, what's the ED update?
And so, that was tabled. And so I think we'll go ahead and adjourn.
Also, can I ask, what's the ED update?
There was none.
Can we turn on the lights?
I was maybe the only one.
Try that again, Jennifer.
So let's go ahead and adjourn at 9:45.
Maybe some of